See if I can refresh this here. I think we're live. All right. We are live. All right. So I was wondering how it syncs to the computer. So we're already at 25 seconds. So it'll be interesting to go back on the playback and see if we're actually at 25 seconds on the video right at that point. What is up, Trip McNeely, The Rock Lesnar, New York Slice? What is going on? El Gazine, hey, how's it going? Austin Cravey, what is up? Yeah, so it's kind of a late Sunday night stream. It's actually 9 o'clock on Sunday. I don't know. I guess a lot of people kind of on the other side of the planet will actually see this live stream, which is kind of cool. A lot of people, if I kind of do it on a regular time here in the United States, it's a lot of times it's kind of like the off time for a lot of other people, like in the UK and around the world. Wow, a lot of people already. What's up, Nico? Jojo, what is up? Justice Renee, hey Chris, can I boil coconut husk chips to recycle and reuse? So that's a good question. I've never actually tried to boil and recycle the coconut husk chips. The kind of the interesting thing though is I think if you boil them, you probably leach out all the chemicals. I know if you actually put them in water, a lot of times the water will turn kind of like a tea color. So I don't know if it actually changed the nature of the coconut husk, but I've never actually tried that. As a matter of fact, I might actually try that. I've been waiting for a whole pallet. They actually have pallets on back order through Pro Coconut. I'm down to my last 2 blocks. I'm kind of scrambling because I don't have enough for my collection. Royalty Morphs, what's up? How long am I on for? Maybe a couple hours. I might go a couple hours tonight. Just started 2 minutes and 21 seconds ago. Just got on the stream. Just got the notification. All right. Let's see. 11 p.m. on the East Coast. Yeah, so it's 9 here. What's up, Matthew Christopher? What's up, Loso Wall? This is Bobby. I got Bobby out on the live stream again. Trip McNeely. Would low humidity have anything to do with snake not shedding? So that's a good question. So you can technically get a completely stuck shed where it's completely stuck in the entire snake. I've actually seen that where every now and then you'll actually see one little spot on the snake where it's starting to shed, but it's actually the whole complete shed stuck to the snake. So if you have extremely low humidity, that could be a problem. My favorite channel, thank you. Do I think the market is saturated? It depends on what morph, because keep in mind with ball pythons, you have like 300 different morphs, around like 250, 300. So I would think in certain morphs, you may saturate like a particular morph or a particular combination in any one area. But keep in mind, you can actually produce something else, like for example, everybody wants bamboos. I can't seem to produce enough bamboos, so I'd say the market for the bamboo is definitely not saturated. But if I started producing like hundreds of bamboos, I would definitely saturate that particular part of the ball python market. Marcos, if I breed a normal pied to a cine pied, what will come out? Genetic Wizard says, normal pied, what? No. A normal pied to a cine pied, you'll get half pieds and half cinnamon pieds. It'll be 50-50. So it could be a glitch in the Genetic Wizard. I've actually seen that in some of those. As a matter of fact, there's several genetic calculators, and a lot of times you can kind of go back and forth between them and check them out. Ah, Bobby's starting to choke me. What are you doing? What are you doing, huh? All right. What's my favorite ball python morph? From Monica Jackson. So I'd say probably my favorite is the bamboo, just because it's it's so close to the spider in appearance. It looks almost exactly like a spider. We actually have even the high white coming up the side. You actually see that on the spider. Almost has a spider pattern right down the top, but it doesn't have the neurological issues that the spider. Of course, with the spider, I'd say the spider has a lot more potential as far as some of the combinations, as far as mixing with other genes. Sometimes the bamboo can be a little challenging mixing with certain genes. All right, we have a new fan. What is up? I don't know how to say your name. YLECS. That's that's a tongue twister right there. A lot of these names, I don't even want to try to butcher them. But thank you for becoming, so if you actually, right under the video, if you click join, you become a channel member. And then it kind of shows up over here. And then every time you make a comment over here in the chat, you'll actually see a little icon right next to your name that shows that you're a channel member, which is pretty cool. Julian, watching from Tucson. What's up? Let's see. What's the difference between the different het percentages? 50, 66, and 100. So, yeah, so the percentages indicate the possibility that that snake contains that gene. So if it's 100% het clown, you know, 100% of the time that it's going to contain one copy of the recessive clown gene. You actually can't see that gene in most cases with recessives. 50% means you actually take 100%, you breed it to something that doesn't contain that. 50% of the offspring contains that gene, but you don't know which one. So you have a 50% chance of that. And if you breed 200% together and you actually don't hit the visual, then everything is 66% het. That's how the hets work on that one. And then also keep in mind, anything less than 100%, like the 50 or the 66, if you actually breed it to like a visual and you produce visuals, then the 50 or the 66 actually becomes 100% once you can confirm that it actually contains that. So, and then if you take like a 66% and you breed it to something else, then it's like possibles. It kind of gets diluted from there because you don't know 100%. That's why, you know, a lot of my stuff is possible het ghost, because I have a 50% possible het desert ghost, and I'm breeding that through my collection, and I don't know for sure if it's actually het for desert ghost. Let's see. Like up the stream. All right. Let's see. Jojo just bought a lesser visual 100% het clown for $250. Was that a fair price? That is a good question. So it really depends on the market, as far as sometimes it depends on the quality of the gene. You know, a lot of times you can go over to Morphmarket and kind of look at what's over there as far as the price. Most genes and most combinations will actually have a price range from a low end to the high end. So I don't know. I'd have to actually look into that to see if it's a fair price as far as what you paid for that snake. And a lot of times I've actually seen people where they'll pay a little bit more depending on a lot of factors. A lot of times if you personally know the person, like a lot of people buy from me because they know 100% sure they're not getting any mites, no respiratory infections. You know, I don't bring new snakes. I don't like flip snakes or anything like that. So a lot of people buy from me just because of that. So it really depends where you're buying it from too. Can't watch the stream, but wanted to say hi. What's up, Jaden White? Any rack recommendations other than ASR? Really depends on what you want to spend as far as the amount of money on a rack system. So, wow, we got a lot of comments. I think I'm like 50 comments behind already. They're going pretty fast. So I like the really high-end racks like this, but the problem is a lot of these racks are like, you know, you buy a full-size rack and it's like $2,500 or $3,000, which is really super expensive. So you can buy low-end racks. What I would actually do is I go to like a really big show, like like one of the NARBCs, like in Tinley Park. I know a lot of times they actually have a lot of the racks on display, and you can actually walk up to them and shake them and open up the tubs and see if it's really the quality that you really want for, especially if you're buying a cheap rack. Sometimes you have to be careful. Jeff Lewis, are you getting the booster shot? I am not getting the booster shot unless they say that I should get the booster shot. So it's yeah. So I actually am vaccinated with 2 shots of the Pfizer, but a lot of my family members, believe it or not, they're not vaccinated. So it really depends on the person. So it's pretty much a personal decision. Really didn't want to get into the vaccination, but I've actually heard a lot of people getting vaccinated having adverse reactions. One of the ones you want to look up is the problem people are having with ringing in the ears and dizziness, like tens of thousands of people from the vaccine. So that's one thing you kind of have to watch out for. So yeah, we won't go too much into the vaccination, the politics that's going on today. DEA Exotics, what's up? Trip McNeely, I wonder why he doesn't say welcome to my animal adventures. Yeah, so it used to be Animal Adventures when I first started this YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, you can actually type in youtube.com /C for channel and then /Animal Adventures, and it'll actually come up with my YouTube channel. And I pretty much went from just random animals to pretty much strictly ball pythons. So not really my animal adventure channel. It's more of a ball python channel, I guess. Kind of changed the focus from the beginning. Let's see. Apex Mutations. What's up? Put a snake in a warm water bin. Use my incubator. Is there a stuck shed? I put... yeah. So for stuck shed, what I actually do is I bring the snake up to the kitchen sink and I kind of work on it for maybe 10 minutes, just kind of gently rubbing, and then just every now and then I'll dunk it in like 90-degree water. But yeah, so a lot of times I've actually seen people put a snake in like a pillowcase, like a wet pillowcase, and put it back in the enclosure, and they kind of roll around in the wet pillowcase and eventually get off the shed, which is, I've never actually tried it. Monkey Bites, hello from Kansas. What's up? Mari Brewer, Super Pastel BR to a Queen Bee 50%. Nice. Let's see. Jeremy Yarish. I have a really picky albino, can't get him to eat. Any suggestions? So sometimes ball pythons will just completely go off of food for whatever reason. And I found if you really want to get them back on food, pretty much the thing that works every single time is take the biggest live mouse that you can find, assuming your snake is big enough to eat a live mouse. But even an adult like this, if you put a live mouse in that enclosure, I guarantee almost every time they'll eat that live mouse. And a lot of times after you feed them the live mouse, they'll actually go right back on whatever you're feeding them before, like a frozen thawed rat. So sometimes just one live mouse in there will just snap them out of it, which is pretty amazing. And I actually have been kind of using that trick when I go through my rack and I see something that hasn't eaten for a couple months and I want them to get them back on food pretty much instantly. I'll throw a live mouse in there, and a lot of times it'll snap them right out of it. All right, Logan 6, hope you've been well. I have been well, pretty good. Can't complain. I'm gonna recommend live mouse hoppers. Yeah, so live mouse hoppers are just for new hatchlings. So for anything else, like an adult snake like this, you could probably use like African soft furs too. But most of the times with like a really big, large jumbo adult mouse, you can do that. Let's see. Kansas wants to learn more about ball pythons because you can't buy them anywhere. Interesting. Let's see. All right, so let's see. I'm way behind on these comments. Let's see. I'm like, yeah. I don't want to skip ahead too much here. All right, Drifter Easy Living. Just got an albino 100% het pied and a pied 100% albino. Interesting, interesting. So albino 100% het pied, and you read it to a pied 100% albino. That's confusing. I'll have to actually plug that in the genetic calculator to see what your odds are on that. But you definitely could hit some albino pieds from that. You'd have better odds definitely than breeding two double hets together. That's for sure. And I think with two double hets, your odds are like, I think it's like 1 in 16 to get the albino pied or something like that. Let's see. Female that hit the 1,000-gram wall, put a male in it. Usually they won't lay eggs, but it stimulates them to start eating, knowing there's a male. So that's kind of interesting too, because pretty much in all my past breeding seasons, what I would actually do is I would look through all my females, and I look for the females that were eating really well and take those and pair them up with the males. And then last year, I paired up some females that weren't eating at all, and it did seem just the act of putting the male in with the female stimulates the female to start eating again, which is pretty cool. So this year, I'm pairing up pretty much all my females, even if they look really skinny, even if they just started back on food, thinking that the male is going to stimulate the female to start eating, which I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about that, which is kind of interesting. All right, Angel. Did you finally sell chompers? I had a couple chompers. I had one chomper that was, it depends what chomper you're talking about. I had one chomper that was like super aggressive, that would bite anything. I could not tame that snake down. And that was my bumblebee. I think it was het albino. I can't even remember what it was now. But there was some hets floating around in that one. There was also yellow belly, and I think it was het albino on that one. We proved it out, I think, on that one. I can't remember 100%, but I sold that one. Then I had another chomper this year. I can't remember what chomper was this year. I use the same names every single year. I know I had a chomper. It was like right up in the top of the rack there, the second one. I think it was my bamboo calico. Possible. I had Desert Ghost, and I did sell that one if I'm remembering that one right. Let's see. Any idea what the Motley gene is? Yes, I did cover the Motley gene. I don't think I did a morph review on the Motley gene, but I did cover it briefly when I was looking at the it was all the total genes. I was trying to look at all the different genes and add up to see how many possible genes there were in ball pythons. I think we came up with I think it was like 260 some genes in ball pythons. And I do remember in that video looking at the Motley. Just fed my 9-week-old pastel pied. Always such a relief when they eat. That is for sure. It's kind of funny. I actually, in a lot of my feeding videos, I'm like so excited when my snakes are eating, and I'm like laughing, and people are like, "Why are you laughing?" It's like because my snake hasn't eaten in 9 weeks, and I'm so happy that it's finally eaten. So yeah, I can definitely understand when your ball python finally eats, especially after a long fast like that. Let's see. Motley is a slight pattern enhancer with a slight glow. That's interesting. Come on, we have 45 people. So yeah, so this is, I'm like way behind in the comments. This says 45 people. We're actually up to 78 people already, which is, I think we kind of hover right around 80 people on a lot of these live streams, which is kind of the average, I think, for a Sunday night. Let's see, 20 likes. All right, 20 thumbs up on the stream. Royalty morphs. What's the next morph you want to or plan to get into? So I was actually thinking about a couple of them. I'm thinking about maybe getting into either the acid, the static, or the confusion. A lot of people think that those three are pretty much the same. And I'm also thinking about getting into puzzle. Kind of the interesting thing about puzzle, I actually went over to Morphmarket. Not a lot of people Actually, it seems like not a lot of puzzles for sale, visual puzzles over on Morphmarket. I don't know if people are just buying them up real quick or people are just not producing a lot of them, but I actually did a morph video on puzzle, and you mix it with just about anything and you get some really mind-blowing results with the puzzle, which is pretty amazing. It's almost like a version of the clown, to where just this is a standalone gene, doesn't look that impressive, but then you mix it with other things and it really pops. Puzzle or tri-stripe? One of my first snakes, I almost bought a tri-stripe for my very first snake, and I ended up buying a pair of pieds at the NARBC instead of the tri-stripe, but I was like, almost bought that tri-stripe, which is another cool project. It's recessive. Is there a better way to contact you? Hatchlings for sale? Yeah, so you can actually message me through Morphmarket. Morphmarket. I actually have a store over there. Under every single video, I actually have a link to my Morphmarket store, and if you're interested in the snake, you can ask me over there. And if I don't respond, you can try to message me again. I'm not sure why it wouldn't go through over there. I know Morphmarket was actually down for maintenance today, which is it's kind of it's kind of difficult, because I'm like trying to sell snakes and dubia roaches and everything over on Morphmarket, and then they take the site down. I have like no communication with any of the people that I've been working with, so that's kind of crazy. Let's see. I have a pastel, normal, Enchi, killer bee, pinstripe, pastel ivory. What one would you pair up? Yeah, so keep in mind, if you're breeding snakes, it seems like that's the first question. Usually the first year, a lot of people ask, you know, they buy like 4 or 5 snakes, or maybe even like 10 or 12, and then they're asking, all right, what snakes should I pair up? And then keep in mind, the next year, you can pair up snakes that you didn't pair up the first year, and then every year after that, you keep pairing up different snakes. And you get to the point, pretty much like I am, you know, I have like 40, 45 breeders, and I'm getting to the point where I already paired up almost everything in my collection, and now I'm trying to think, all right, I need to buy some more snakes, because I pretty much paired up everything that, you know, I've already done these pairings before over and over, and you're like, I need some more diversity. And then you end up kind of selling some and then buying some new genes and kind of upgrading your collection, or keeping a lot of your holdbacks. You can do it that way too. Let's see. Hamza, greetings, Lord Hardwick. What's up? Snakes and doggies. Scotland says heart attacks up 25% from clapping. Yeah, the old vaccine. It's kind of funny. Everyone's like, you know, I don't know. It seems like here in the United States, you walk around in the stores and the churches, nobody's wearing masks. Nobody cares about the virus anymore. It's like it doesn't even exist. It's just weird. You can actually have, you know, like the peak of the virus, and we're like not even worried about it. Nobody's wearing masks or anything, which is kind of cool. Keeps the economy going. All right, let's see. Blue Yoda 84. Just had my first hatchlings. Congratulations on your hatchlings. Got an Enchi and a butter. I'm seeing some with pattern on the bottom. Do you have any insight to which gene that might be? So your Enchis, if you're trying to identify the Enchi, usually the Enchi, if you actually take a look at Bobby here, Bobby has kind of this line right down his head, like right from his eye all the way to the back of his head. And then Enchi will actually have this spot right here that's enlarged. And a lot of times it'll go up on the top of the head on the Enchi, like up the side of the head a little bit on that little spot right there. So, and then usually your Enchis have a pattern reduction. And the Enchis a lot of times can be a lot brighter in color, depending on the version of the Enchis. Some Enchis can be like a really bright yellow color. So, and in some Enchis, I'd say I actually produce some Enchis that look almost like normals. The only thing you can really see difference is the little stripe right on the head, which is a little bit tricky. And then with butters, keep in mind the butter is pretty much the same thing as the lesser. So usually you get a lot more brighter yellows and kind of a reduction of the pattern on the side. You really don't get like the alien heads. So those are the kind of the two things to watch for. And then if you combine them, butter enchi, I would think your butter enchis would probably be the brightest because the butter and the enchi are both brightening genes. So I'd look at the color. And then sometimes you have to kind of wait until they mature a little bit, especially with hatchlings. So after they go through a shed and eat a few meals, they really start brightening up after like a month or so, and you can really tell the difference at that point. I skipped your question. What was your question? Let's see. Let's see. If the normal is female, I do the ivory pastel. Let's see. What's your cheapest morph you got? I actually have quite a few normal females still. And as a matter of fact, I have some normals that I have a normal 100% het caramel albino. Never produced a caramel albino, but I use it as a breeder, and she's one of my biggest snakes. She'll actually lay 16 eggs at a time, which is unbelievable, you know. So I actually breed something to her, and I get a really huge clutch. That's one of the reasons I hang on to her. It's almost like a double clutch in that case, which is kind of crazy. Punk Rocka, what's up? You have the marathon live stream on your channel. You're waiting for those eggs to come out of that snake. It's kind of interesting. I keep going over there a couple times a day looking, is that snake laid eggs yet? Which is kind of interesting. I've never actually seen anyone do like a multi-day live stream of a snake waiting to lay eggs. I've actually seen just recently someone posted, it was like a live stream of eggs hatching. I thought that was pretty neat. Every now and then you can go over there to see if the eggs have hatched. That was pretty cool. Let's see. Thomas, feeding question. My 165 gram male is on 20 to 30 gram rat pups. He's hungry 2 days after. Should I up the food size or frequency? Yes, I would say. 165 gram male. So you could probably feed that snake every 4 to 5 days, I'd say. As far as, especially if they're hungry afterwards and looking for it. I have a lot of snakes, a lot of hatchlings. If they're hungry, it really depends on the body size. If they're really thick and plump and look really good, even if they're hungry, I won't feed them again. I'll kind of hold off. But if they're looking really super skinny, I'll kind of increase the frequency to like 4 days and feed them kind of multiple, kind of increase the frequency. I kind of avoid feeding multiple rodents in the same day. I don't think that's really good for a snake. All right, let's see. So I produced a pastel banana super stripe. I wanted your opinion on if you think it'll keep the purple as it gets older. Yeah, so super stripe with the banana. I actually did a video on, I think the video was purple snakes, how to get some of the most purple snakes. And I think one of them was actually the banana super stripe, which is a pretty bright purple snake. And I would say, based on what the banana does, as a hatchling versus an adult, I would say you'll probably lose all the purple on that. But I'm not 100% sure with the super stripe, if the super stripe would kind of maintain some of the purple as it ages and matures. But usually with the bananas, they start out really purple, and then they lose all of that as they age and mature. Let's see, Mr. Kool-Aid 8388. Hey, what's up? Hey, we got a super chat. Skip my question. I love your videos. Keep it up. What's up? Yeah, you can actually do a super chat and ask the question, and then I can answer it. Yeah, I'm trying not to skip any questions. I'm like way behind on my questions here. Let's see. How far we are behind? Wow. I'm like 100 questions behind. All right, we have like 84 people on, 36 thumbs up. All right. Finally here for a live stream. What is up, Aerith? I'm actually going to skip down to the bottom. Maybe. All right. All right. Mark the Skater 123. What's the smallest you should breed a male? The smallest I ever bred a male is 400 grams. Most people would say the minimum is 500 grams. Some people say you can breed them after a year. But kind of in my experience, I would say, for the most part, I've actually tried breeding males after 1 year, and it seems like about half of them don't actually breed after the first year. So what I would actually do, so say you produce like a world's first, and then you wanted to breed it to something else to produce like a super, or you're working on a dinker project or something. What I would actually do is I would take that really young male, breed it a few times to that female, and then kind of follow up with an adult male, like something like Bobby here, just to make sure you actually get that female fertilized with some kind of a male. That's kind of what I'm going to do this year. Is I'm going to use a lot of cleanup males and go through my collection. Some of the males that aren't really productive in previous years, I'm going to go through maybe with some of my bamboos and kind of follow up all those questionable males that sometimes are hit and miss. And then maybe like the last 1 or 2 rotation at the very end of the pairing season, and breed it with one of my more aggressive males, one of my bamboos that I know breeds everything, and kind of follow up that way. But I've actually paired up a 400 gram male that was not even a year old, and it actually produced offspring with maybe half the females that I paired it up with, which was pretty good, I thought, for a 400 gram male. All right, we have another super chat question. Keegan Klug, what's up? I have 22 ball pythons. Wow, that's a lot. I'm starting breeding finally. I've been told not to breed. My female lemon blast, she's only 1250. So I don't know. I would say it depends on how old that lemon blast is. So if it's 1 year old, I probably wouldn't breed it. 2 year old, you're probably right on the edge. If it's 3 years old, I would maybe chance it, but I'd say most people would wait until it's most people say at least 1,500 grams on your females. I've actually paired up at 1,400 grams is the smallest female that I've ever paired up. And she actually laid eggs too, which is pretty awesome. So I don't know, 1,250, maybe not. I'd say most people would front on 1,250. That's pretty light, 1,250. All right, got another super chat question. Mark Ardell 14. What's up? What price tag would you put on a black pastel gravel possible het pine possible clown? If proved out, that is a good question. You kind of have to look into kind of the market on that. So a lot of times something like that might not actually exist out there. If you actually had like a black pastel gravel het pied het clown, yeah. So if you can actually prove the het pied and the het clown, the het, what you can actually do is look up like a double het pied clown and kind of get an idea from there, and then look at I don't know though, black pastel and gravel. I would say that could be a fairly expensive snake because you can go a lot of different ways with that one. With the gravel, you could actually do some like some freeways with the asphalt, especially if you did like a clown pied freeway. Essentially what I do is when I look at the price of the snake, what I think about what is the maximum potential of the clutch or the offspring that I could produce from something like that. So if you actually produce like a pied clown freeway, that could be, several $1,000s as far as the potential, breeding that to something else. So then you have to look at, well, that's the potential, what is my snake worth, considering the potential. And, if someone has like a het clown, het pied, asphalt, what would they be willing to pay to get this snake in order to breed it with that one to produce this really expensive offspring? That's kind of the thinking that I think of when I'm pricing a snake too. So I'd say, yeah, if you get the right buyer, you could probably, I don't know, you could probably get a pretty good price for that snake. Do I think ball pythons actually like being held? I know Bobby loves to be held. Bobby just loves to be held. He does not like to be in his enclosure. He would rather be on my shoulder than in his enclosure. As a matter of fact, I've seen a lot of people, they say they'll open the tub and the snake will just crawl right up their arm. They just want to be held. Really depends on the snake too. Some of them are a little bit skittish where they don't like to be held. Another super chat question. All right. Keegan. Last question. My biggest dream has been to get into breeding ball pythons, and I would love to make a career out of it. Is it worth it? Good question. Is it worth it? Definitely worth it. I would say, depending on what you're breeding, so if you're breeding a lot of really low-end stuff, it could be a lot of work with not a lot of return on investment. So I would say it's worth it more if you can invest in, well, what I like to do is I like to kind of diversify. I like to have like really low end stuff that I'm producing, and then kind of, well, as high end as I can actually afford to get into. And that way, the high end stuff, you sell a few of those and it pays the bills. But the low end stuff usually sells really fast, like the normals and the single genes, like the lessers and the pastels. That stuff sells really quick. So sometimes you can sell the low end stuff really quick to generate some money, and then once in a while you'll actually sell some higher end stuff to pay the bills for the month. Or you definitely don't want to breed like all normals, because I don't know if you could break even breeding all normal ball pythons. But yeah, so it can be actually, it can be a lot of work, but I actually really enjoy breeding ball pythons. I'd say breeding any kind of an animal, you really want to do it for the love of breeding animals and the enjoyment versus the money. I definitely wouldn't do it just for the money. Yeah, with any kind of an animal. All right, let's see. Best match for a female butter. Keep in mind, butter is the same thing as lesser. What I would actually do with the butter, you could breed that to, I would actually breed it to like a super Mojave, which is a blue-eyed leucistic. And then 50% of the time you'd end up with the butter Mojave, the same thing as the lesser Mojave. A lot of people consider that to be pretty much the ideal blue-eyed leucistic, the brightest white snake with really super bright blue eyes. And with that particular combination, you won't have like the bug eyes or the micro eyes or anything like that. And then you'll also get, so you get the blue-eyed leucistics, and then you'll also get the Mojaves out of that. Or you could just breed it to a Mojave, and then you get some butters and Mojaves and the blue-eyed leucistics. All right, Cooper B, how do you start successful snake breeding? How do you get as big as the snake breeders and start a YouTube channel at the same time? That is a good question. So, yeah, so I would say, so for me, I think kind of the thing that really jumpstart my breeding career is early on. I think the key is to buy some adult females that can produce the very first year. If I was to do it again and completely start over, I get some hatchlings that I want to grow out, and then I'd also buy just a couple adult females that would breed the first year that would start putting money back into the operation versus, keep putting money in for rodents and bedding and not making any money for years and years, which can get kind of discouraging. And then as far as growing, a lot of times you can just hold back some of your best snakes if you can, or sell some of the snakes and then buy better genes and keep improving that way. And then starting a YouTube channel, breeding snakes is pretty easy, especially from the beginning, because you can talk about, hey, I just bought this snake, I just bought this rack, this is what I'm doing pairing up, and kind of talk about what's going on in your snake room and use kind of like your day-to-day stuff as far as the content for your YouTube channel. But let me tell you, YouTube is kind of like, I'd say, like an ultra marathon. It takes years and years and years to start making money to pay the bills from doing YouTube. So pretty much the best thing about YouTube, I'd say, for me, is that I can sell snakes pretty easy. I just advertise them. Well, everybody knows me from YouTube, so a lot of people just jump over to my Morphmarket store and then they look at all my snakes, and I sell them pretty quick, I think, compared to a lot of people, just because I have, you know, a bigger presence on YouTube. So YouTube can definitely help you sell just about anything, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, it can be a lot of work trying to do it all. The hard part is breeding snakes, doing YouTube, and having a full-time job. If you can quit your full-time job, it's a lot easier, because otherwise you're killing yourself. Let me tell you, I tried that, and you know, you get like 4 hours of sleep a night, man. It's brutal at the beginning. All right, Hunter. Hey Chris, I have a BCC boa and a carpet python. And should I start breeding them or something else? Good question. Really depends on, you could breed whatever you want to breed. Well, the only reason I breed ball pythons is because there's so many different morphs and so many different combinations that you can do in ball python. But a lot of people, they do like a variety. They'll do ball pythons, they'll do boas and king snakes, and just kind of mix it up and have a bunch of different stuff, which is pretty awesome. Let's see, the brood ball pythons, what's up? I want to start a YouTube channel about ball pythons. What should my first video be? Good question. I would say, yeah, if you're thinking about doing your first video, think of your first video as practice that nobody is ever gonna look at, and just start, you know, just turn on the camera and just start talking about when I first started, I was doing like ducks on one video, I was doing cows on one video, I was doing dogs on another video, and it seemed like every time I did ball pythons, I had more views on the ball pythons. It seems like that's the way a lot of people start on YouTube. What I would actually do starting YouTube, I would just do random stuff all around your house. I just do, you know, your snakes, your dogs, your cows, your horses, and then see where the views are. As far as if you want to do a snake channel, you can do that. But I found a lot of people just do random stuff, and then whatever takes off, they'll do one video and they'll get like tens of thousands of views on this particular topic on YouTube, and then they'll start doing multiple videos on that, and then their channel just takes off. Doing it that way. As a matter of fact, I saw a YouTube channel about terrariums, which should be another interesting channel. I might make a third channel. And it seems like this guy was like all over the place, and he did this like moss terrarium, and he got like tens of thousands of views. And then he was doing all this other random stuff, and he did another one on terrariums, and sure enough, after a while, he's just doing terrarium video after terrarium video, and his channel was just exploding over terrariums. This kind of weird random stuff that people come up with on YouTube. And that's one of the reasons I did my motorcycle channel, which is, it's called My Motorcycle Obsession. And I was just kind of randomly looking at motorcycle channels, and they were all doing so much better than my snake channel. I started doing motorcycle videos, and it was amazing because, you know, normally you do like a snake video and you kind of see the views on any particular video is based on your channel authority, because it kind of goes up and then it just kind of flatlines. And on my motorcycle video, it would go up and then just go off the scale. It's just like everybody was searching for it. And then every time I did one, it just exploded. And that's what you really want to find if you want to do a channel that really explodes. I don't know. I think it's a little bit harder with snakes because there's so many snake channels and there's so many videos about it. All right, yeah, I could spend a whole hour just talking about YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is my life. All right, Black X Profit. My pinstripe just ate, but I feel like she's barely growing. She's 3 years and 3 feet. 3 feet. Yeah, so depends on how many grams that snake is. So 3 years old. So I would say 3 years old. I'd say a slow grower at 3 years old. Pretty much the slowest I've seen in my collection is like maybe 1,300, 1,400 grams. That's kind of the slow grower. I've actually had 2-year-olds about 1,500 grams for females. As a matter of fact, I've actually seen some people on YouTube saying that they knew a guy who had a female ball python, 1,500 grams after 1 year. They must have been feeding that thing like 2 or 3 times a week to get that big, which is pretty wild. So keep in mind, even if it's a slow grower at the start, sometimes they can just snap and start eating a lot more, and they can grow pretty fast. All right, HMP Exotics. 2 years ago, we had 2 snakes going, and this season we have 44. 44 snakes. Yeah, so it can kind of snowball on you. That's one thing you have to watch out for, because if you have too many snakes, let me tell you, the real work of breeding ball pythons is like when you produce over 100 hatchlings, and you have to feed 100 hatchlings once a week. So you're looking at 400 to 500 rodents a week, a month, just to feed your hatchlings on top of all your other snakes. And a lot of times, you're kind of just plugging along, and then all of a sudden you have 100, 150 hatchlings, and it just, pretty soon you're just buying so many rodents, and you're cleaning so many tubs, and it can be pretty overwhelming pretty quick if you get a lot of hatchlings from a really big year. And then you have to work with you have to deal with not only feeding them and cleaning them, but you have to deal with selling them and all the customers, and then shipping them. It can get to be a lot of work, and it can snowball really quick with the work on hatchlings. All right, so I am like 30 questions behind. All right, so I think I skipped like 150 questions already. We have 88 people on. 56 thumbs up. We've been going for 47 minutes, 37 seconds. All right. So I'm gonna, let's see. All right. I'm gonna have to skim the questions. Are you getting leopard in your collection? Good question. Rage Games. So kind of the interesting thing about the leopard gene, I recently went to reptile show, and the guy was dealing with confusion and leopard, and he mixed them together in the same snake. He had confusion and leopard, and he actually bred them, and he said he could not identify the offspring. As a matter of fact, he was talking about some of the experts, some of the big snake breeders, and they said that is a problem if you mix confusion, acid, or static, which pretty much everyone thinks they're the same thing. You mix any of those with leopard in the same snake, and then try to breed it to something else, and you don't know if you have leopard, or if you have confusion, or if you have a leopard confusion. And let me tell you, there's a big difference between the price on leopard and confusion. And I've actually seen a lot of people selling snakes possible confusion, and they'll sell them for thousands of dollars. And if it was like a leopard in that same combination, it would only be worth like hundreds. As a matter of fact, one guy was telling me that he actually went over to Morphmarket and was selling something for like a couple $1,000s, possible confusion, and Morphmarket shut him down, wouldn't let him post a possible confusion for a lot of money, because if it's a lot of money, you better know you have confusion, because you don't want to sell a leopard for that much money. So you definitely want to know. And I'm thinking about getting confusion or something like that. So that kind of changed my mind about getting into leopard. So I probably won't get leopard in my collection. KC Mystic Mountain Morphs. Howdy, howdy, howdy. What's up? Let's see. Ryan, when you did shows, what did you use for a cash sale receipt? Yeah, so when we did the cash sales, the reptile show, what I would actually use is I went on Amazon and got these little receipt books, and it was the one with the carbon that's built into one page, and then you write what the sale is on one, and it would actually automatically make like a pink copy for my record, so I knew exactly what I was selling at the reptile show, and I give everyone a seat. That's what I was actually doing for that. Yeah, definitely have to keep track of all that stuff. I need a banana Enchi clown male. Yeah, so as a matter of fact, this year, breeding my banana Enchi clown to both my regular clown and my lesser clown. So I may actually end up with banana Enchi clown males here next year, which would be pretty awesome if those snakes actually go. I don't know if my clown's going to go, but I think my lesser clown might go because she's eating really well. All right, Bobby, what are you doing? Seems like 45 minutes and Bobby starts getting excited and wants to crawl around. Let's see. Plant Miami, what's up? Are there any shows coming up that you're planning to sell snakes at? Yeah, so I don't really sell snakes at the shows anymore, which is interesting. I sell pretty much 100% on Morphmarket now, but I do show up to shows every now and then. As a matter of fact, there was a show this weekend, and I missed it. I was so busy this weekend. But I think there was the Repticon in Denver this weekend, which is kind of crazy. Opinions on the garter snake market. I feel like it's been gaining in popularity. Yeah, so Tim H., good question. I actually went over to Morphmarket. I was shocked. Some of these reptile shows, they're selling little tiny garter snakes for $300, which is unbelievable. It seemed like garter snakes were really cheap for a long time. So yeah, as a matter of fact, there was one guy on the internet that had a whole variety of all these different garter snakes, and I think he's got out of the business. And I think he was pretty much the only one that I know of that had, was kind of collecting all the different morphs in the localities. So it'd be interesting to see if you can get a whole bunch of different localities of garter snakes and kind of focus on that. For $300 a pop, it would definitely be worth getting into garter snakes. Let's see. All right, Slytherin Reptiles. Hi, Chris. I just paired for this season. Got Calico crossed with a banana. Nice. Firefly with a super gravel. Nice. Super gravel. Wow. Super gravels are pretty expensive. Phantom yellow belly. Nice. Super gravel with a phantom yellow belly. Hoping for those phantom highways. Nice. Oh, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, anything highway or freeway is pretty awesome. How many times have I been bitten? April. How many times have I been bitten? I would say probably in the last 6 years, probably maybe 120 times. Something like that. It has to be over 100, probably close to 110, 120 times. If you include, all the hatchlings, mostly with hatchlings is when I get bit. I get, probably a few times a week, just kind of going through and working with the hatchlings. It's usually because they think I'm food. I'm getting better to where I don't get bit quite as much. But from adults, pretty much never from the adults. anymore. Let's see. We got a super chat. Paul, thank you. What is a usual growth rate for ball python? My male bamboo lemon blast 30 inches and 500 grams at 15 months. I would say 500 grams at 15 months is definitely on the light side. I'd say most of my snakes after about a year, a little over a year, they're anywhere from, maybe about 800 grams is kind of the average. I've had some that are a little bit picky, about 500. But keep in mind, if you start feeding like every 4 days, they can grow super fast. And if you kind of spread it out to a week, they slow down a little bit. And if they stop eating altogether and they, they'll skip like a month, a month or two, they can grow really super slow. So it really depends. They can catch up really quick, so I wouldn't really worry about it too much. Are you still breeding African soft furs? I'm actually looking for some African soft furs. As a matter of fact, I found one guy locally. He's got African soft furs for sale. And we were kind of talking about prices and stuff. And apparently he watches my YouTube channel. He's like, hey, I heard you were interested in rabbits for your reticulated pythons. So he's going to start breeding rabbits. And he's going to euthanize them, freeze them, and sell them to me for $2 a pound for rabbits, which is the same as, there's actually a place online. I think it's like Monster Feeders or something like that. So when I go to pick up my first rabbits, I'm going to pick up some African soft furs from this guy too. Sounds like he's got a interesting feeder business going, which is pretty awesome. What would you pair with a female ivory? What I would pair with the female ivory, so keep in mind the ivory is the super yellow belly. So everything you breed it to will be yellow belly. I would actually take that and I would breed it to an asphalt, because you would get the freeways. And one of the kind of the most difficult part about the freeways is that if you actually take a freeway and breed it to something else, you'll end up with half asphalt and half yellow belly, and you can't tell the difference between the asphalt and yellow belly. So what you really want to do is you kind of want to arrange the project to where you can 100% identify all of the offspring. So in this case, if you had a female ivory and you paired it with an asphalt, what you would actually get, you would get either the freeways, which would contain the asphalt, and if it didn't contain the asphalt, you would get a snake that 100% sure would be a yellow belly. So you wouldn't be guessing asphalt or yellow belly or something like that. So I definitely pair that with asphalt with a combination of other genes in with the asphalt. I would say one of my favorite freeways, I'd say, is like the pinstripe freeway or the banana freeway. So I'd probably get something like a banana pinstripe asphalt and breed it with that ivory is what I would actually do. You can get some really crazy, really expensive freeway combinations if you did it that way. Yeah, that'd be, as a matter of fact, I was thinking about getting into the project, and then what I would actually start with is the female ivory. Tony, hello. You are a channel member. I see that. Thank you. Let's see. Never been bitten by an adult. Yeah, so one of my worst bites was from an adult ball python. I actually had I had a snake that was almost as big as Bobby, and he was actually a spider pied, and he had kind of a stargaze, where a lot of times he kind of look up and kind of tilt his head a little bit, where you could definitely tell he had a little bit of a neurological issue. And one day I was feeding him a rat, and he jumped out of the tub at that rat, and he missed the rat, and he got me right between the thumb and the finger, right in here, and wrapped around my whole arm. And I could not believe how much I was bleeding. I was walking around the room trying to figure out how to get this snake off my arm. I was like bleeding everywhere. I could not believe it. That was like the worst bite I ever had. But yeah, other than that bite, I really haven't taken a really serious bite from a ball python. Let's see. Rude Dog Reptiles. What's up? Let's see. Could you give advice on humidity? My first snake ever, pinstripe pied. Hatchling will be here tomorrow. So, as far as humidity, what I actually like to do, I like to take the Pro Coco coconut husk chip, or you could use like I think Freedom Breeder makes a coconut husk chip, or Repta chip. And what I actually like to do is add enough humidity to where if you actually take your finger and you kind of push into the substrate, it's firm. If it dries out too much and you push into the substrate, it kind of like breaks apart and kind of fluffs all over the place. And if it's too wet, you'll actually see like the top of it will look wet. So what I like to do is I like to make it maybe 1.5 inches as far as the thickness of the substrate, and get it to where you actually have enough humidity into it to where it doesn't break apart, but it's still dry on top. And I can almost kind of feel it when I stick my hand into the substrate to kind of get an idea of where the humidity should be. Or you could use like a humidity gauge. Most people say anywhere from like 50 to 60% for a ball python. What's up, Rude Dog Reptiles? 50 and 60%, yeah. Unless in shed, then 80%. Yeah, so I keep my snake room at 56%, but I do go through and add water to the substrate to keep it a little bit higher in the tubs. All right, David. Could you explain your feeding schedule and pairing snakes? Yeah, so I'm actually pairing right now for the first time. I actually paired, as a matter of fact, I was supposed to separate them today. So I take the male, I put it with a female for 3 days, and then I'll take that male, put it with another female for 3 days. And that's where I'm at right now. And then I'll give everyone a break. So today I'm only going to go through, this is my first rotation. I'm going to separate all my males and my females. So then what I do is I go through all the tubs and I spot clean, change all the water and everything on the first day. And then on the second day, I go through and try to feed everyone, the males and the females. I'll feed them all. And then after feeding, you definitely want to give, I'd say, at least 3 to 4 days before you pair them up again. What I actually found is if you feed a male or a female and then you pair them up within a day or two, a lot of times the snakes can actually regurgitate. And I found that over several years. It seemed like a pretty solid pattern. But I have just a couple snakes, not all of them, but every now and then I have some snakes regurgitate. And it was always pairing up too soon after feeding. So I say if you want to play it safe, I'd go through and feed and then wait maybe 4 days and then go back and pair them up again. 3 or 4 days at least before you pair them up again. And then what I do is I take that male and I'll pair it up with a different female for 3 days and then a different female for 3 more days and then give them a break again. So 1 male with a total of 4 females on that rotation. That's like, it almost lasts a whole month to do the 1 male through 4 females like that. All right. Will frequent handling tame down my super flighty juvenile? She doesn't bite or hiss, just runs and makes it really hard to keep in my hands. Yes. I would say if you have a really flighty juvenile, try to move really slow. Try not to mess with the head too much. What I like to do is kind of like to put my finger underneath the head on the bottom underneath. Seems like that tames them down a little bit. But yeah, if you just took a really flighty snake and held it for like maybe 45 minutes, I can guarantee after 45 minutes, that snake will definitely tame down. Sometimes it just takes really gentle, calm handling over a longer period of time to really calm down a hatchling. Big Birdie, what's up? Have you ever played with any bioactive setups? So I actually tried bioactive a little bit for my ball pythons, but I don't think I can really get good results with a bigger snake in these smaller tubs. I don't think I just have enough room in a rack system. But I do have a bioactive system for my crested geckos. I have the springtails and the little roly-polies in there. And let me tell you, that is phenomenal. As far as it's kind of interesting. I'll actually keep the substrate really damp, and I'll get a whole big moldy spot, and then those cleanup animals, the insects, will actually go in there and completely eat all the mold and everything. And it's been working fantastic. I haven't changed the substrate in like a year and a half, and I can actually open it up and it smells fresh, like fresh moss, which is pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing if you actually can get a really nice bioactive established. It's a pretty amazing setup. Let's see. How do I pick up an angry ball python? Yeah, good question. I woke up this morning and our bumblebee was mad. Yeah. So when you're picking up a mad ball python, there's several ways you can do it. What I like to do, like in a tub system like this, if I pull open a tub and I see a snake that's really super mad that wants to bite me, what I'll actually do is I'll pull the tub out, put it on the table. Sometimes you can actually just take the tub, rotate it 180 degrees, and just the rotation from one side to the other, sometimes it kind of throws off the snake to where it kind of snaps them out of it. And then a lot of times, if they're still snapped out, if they're still aggressive, what you can actually do is come in from behind the ball python and get them from the back to pick them up. But yes, it seems like usually once you pick them up, they're okay. I've only ever had one ball python that I just could not tame down for whatever reason. I don't know what was up with that ball python. Let's see. All right, George, in your opinion, what's the best gene for a male Mojave GHI? Yeah, so Mojave GHI, I really like the Mojave GHIs. It really depends on what you want to do. So if you want to produce blue-eyed leucistics, you could take the Mojave, work it into like the lesser or the Russo or the bamboo, make some all-white snakes with blue eyes. The GHI, keep in mind the GHI is a dark gene. GHI, one of my favorite GHI combinations, you can work it in with Ghost and get kind of like a steel gray ball python, which is a pretty interesting effect. If you look at some of the dark genes mixed in with Ghost, you end up with the steel gray. If you want to produce more Mojave GHIs, maybe with some enhancements to enhance the Mojave GHI, you might be able to do like maybe yellow belly. I think yellow belly might actually increase the brightness of the spots coming down the back of the Mojave GHI, so you can actually have something like a Mojave yellow belly or something like that. I think pastel might brighten it up. The problem is with some genes that are brightening genes, you work it into the Mojave GHI, sometimes it'll actually fade out the darkness of the black background, and you can kind of lose that. So what I would actually do is go over to Morphmarket, look up Mojave GHI, and look at all the different genes worked into Mojave GHI to see if you can find one that you really like, and then work towards that if you're interested in that. Let's go, Brandon. I was wondering if someone's gonna take that username. That's pretty funny. Much love from here in Colorado. Send our love to Bobby. That's where I am. I am in Colorado, United States. All right. Thanks, David. Love your videos. Let's see. How did you train Bobby not to be head shy? Yeah, so when I first started handling Bobby, this is Bobby around my neck. And when I first started, it's kind of interesting because when I first started putting a snake around my neck, I was kind of going through my whole collection putting just random snakes around my neck. And it seemed like every snake I put around my neck was like choking me out and trying to take off. And they're really scared and skittish. And every time I'd like bump them, they'd jump. And then I decided, all right, I just want one snake that I can work with every single day. You know, it has to be a snake that a lot of people aren't familiar with or something really unique. And at the time, nobody really here in Colorado had ever seen a bamboo. When I started selling bamboos at the reptile shows, nobody had actually seen them before. Everyone's like, what in the world is that snake? And the other thing, the cool thing about Bobby is he is the biggest and oldest bamboo that I've ever seen over on Morphmarket. He's actually 8 years old. So he's one of the original bamboos that were first sold. And as far as I understand, the first bamboos were sold for $100,000, which is pretty crazy. That's how much the prices come down on bamboos. But yeah, it's just, I just started putting them around my neck every single day. And after 6 months, I'd say, 6 months, he has not head shy. I don't look like I could do anything to Bobby. He's like perfectly happy. He's so funny. Not head shy at all. Yeah, so it's just putting them around my neck every single day, and usually, you know, after a long time, he'll just kind of go to sleep, especially in these live streams. He'll just kind of sleep it off. All right, let's see. All right, so. Wow, like way behind on these comments. Have you ever calculated how much your collection is worth? Good question. Depends on the time of the year. When I have 100 hatchlings, it's worth a lot more than when I don't have any hatchlings. I'd say, well, it depends. I think my racks, just my racks, I think I have like $20,000 in racks, and probably when I have all the hatchlings, maybe $40,000 worth of snakes, maybe. So maybe 60,000. So I don't know. As far as how much I invested, I don't even know how much I invested over the years. So I don't even really buy snakes anymore. I just produce all my own and then just hold them back. But let me tell you, at the beginning, when you're buying like, so as a matter of fact, at the beginning, I was buying stuff like, I bought a Coral Glow Het Pie. They were selling for like $1,100, which now they're just a few $100s. So a lot of these snakes, my first scaleless head male, I think I paid $1,500, and now they're like $300 or something like that. I think they're less than that, even that for I don't even know what scaleless heads are worth anymore, but yeah, so it really depends if you look at the original price of what I paid for some of this versus the current pricing for what they're actually worth now. What would you pair with a male calico possible orange dream? Good question. So I know a lot of people really don't like spiders. A lot of people are really against spiders, but one of the most amazing spider combinations that I've actually seen is spider with calico. So essentially what you get is you get a spider that all the pattern and color is on the top of the snake with really high white sides, which is a really amazing combination. And then if you work orange dream, super orange dream, or pastel with that, you can make some really amazing combinations. So what I would actually do, if you're interested in working with spider, which is kind of a double-edged sword because of the potential neurological problems that they have, but I would actually look up, if you're actually interested, go over to Morphmarket and look at like a pastel super orange dream calico spider, which is an amazing snake, probably the most amazing snake that I've actually seen. So you could buy like an orange dream, yellow belly, pastel spider, something like that, and breed with that thing, and you get some crazy spider combinations. Of course, a lot of people are against spiders, so Let's see. Should I keep investing in clown hypo or should I move back to just clowns? Good question. Depends on if you want to do the double recessives. I don't know. I'm not into hypo. I think if I did ghost, I'd probably do orange ghost. I know one copy of ghost usually really enhances a lot of the brightness of a lot of your combinations. So it's good to have kind of hypo kind of floating around in your collection to kind of brighten things up, which is pretty cool. If you actually made the double visual, I think the prices would be pretty good for a double recessive, the hypo and the clown. What you could do with that, you could actually make a hypo clown with a dark gene with like blackhead or GHI or something like that, and you'd end up with a steel gray looking clown, which would be pretty awesome. I don't think I've ever seen one, but that's probably what I would do. Add some kind of a dark gene to your hypo clown project. Do I watch any sports? I don't have a television. I don't watch TV. I watch YouTube. I was looking for good video ideas. Let's see. Best investment morphs right now. Really depends on what you're into. I'd say usually the recessives are kind of a long game because it's a little bit harder on your recessives. Your recessives like pies and clowns are always going to have value, and they're always going to be worth something, I'd say. Some of your dominant or co-dominant, some of the new stuff, a lot of times you can make some pretty quick money breeding them through your collection. Like if you actually had like confusion or something like that, you could breed it through your collection, and I think you could make money faster. But the problem is if you get someone with confusion and they have a really big operation, and then they produce like, hundreds or thousands of confusion combinations. Confusion, I would say, could potentially go down to, be worth as much as any other gene, kind of like a leopard, all the way down to like $100 or, $150. So if you can actually get in some of these newer genes that are not as popular, that's, like the confusion, the acid, the static, I think you can do pretty good on those. I actually invested pretty heavily on scaleless head when it first came out, and everybody was working with scaleless head. You go to the NARBC, and everything on everybody's table was scaleless heads, and they were selling for thousands and thousands of dollars. People were cashing in on scaleless heads. They were worth so much money. They started at $45,000 a piece for scaleless heads, and people made a lot of money, but people bred them so much and the market crashed so hard that now they're only worth a few $100. So it really depends on how many people are working with them and how many people are producing, as far as how good of an investment that is. I would say probably the best thing you could do is invest in some of those really high-end co-dominants, and then just breed a few of them and invest in multiple different projects, and don't flood the market with any one of them, because you're kind of flooding the market and depressing the price. All right, we have a super chat. Tanya Mitchell, what's up? I have a problem. My little ball python, she's inside of a hide. Can't get her out of. Ooh, I bought it for my dragon. Never noticed the holes in it. It's all hollow. Yeah. What's funny is I actually sold a snake. I sold a hatchling to someone, and it was like their first snake. It's the only time I ever took a snake back, and they were like, we can't get the snake to eat. And it was like months. It was just a hatchling. I actually fed it really super heavy, and it was a really thick, super healthy hatchling. And I sold it at one of the reptile shows. No, we can't get this hatchling to eat. and we want to return it. It was a local sale, so I was like, reluctantly, I said, all right, you can bring it back and I'll take it back. The only time I ever returned, actually, which is kind of interesting. And they actually, when they brought it back, it was actually inside of a piece of driftwood, stuck inside. So they actually walked into my house with this huge piece of driftwood that wouldn't even fit in my biggest tank, and gave me this huge thing. And what I actually had to do is I actually had to break that thing apart. I was using like pry bars and everything to crack it and break it open to get that hatchling out there, because they said, hey, it went in and we can't get it out. We don't know what's going on. But before I actually cracked it open, I had that thing for like a week and it would not come out of that drift. It was like it got stuck inside of it, which is kind of crazy. So sometimes if you can do it, you can kind of pry it open. I don't know any other way to get it out if it got really stuck inside of something like that. But I used to have that problem with some of my king snakes with certain decorations. Sometimes they get stuck inside of it. And as soon as they come out, you just have to get rid of all those decorations where they can get stuck inside of them. All right, Amy, hello from Nebraska. What's up? All right, let's see. Fill the cavity of anything they get stuck in. Yeah, so I would just get rid of that decoration. You could fill it, I guess. Maybe take some silicone, fill it up. Let's see. Do you know the average body temperature from ball pythons? So keep in mind the body temperature of a ball python is they can't regulate their own temperature. So basically the temperature of the environment. And I'd say most people keep ball pythons at about 80 degrees with like a 90-degree hotspot, maybe high 70s. All right, let's see. House of Invertebrates. How have you been? I've been doing good. Thank you. So we've been going an hour, 21 minutes, 87 people on the live, 78 thumbs up. All right. Hour 21. Maybe we could go 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. Depends on how long my voice lasts. All right, Trevor Hendricks, channel member, thank you. Stormy is doing great, very sweet snake. Got an ARS for her, nice. I breathed in some Coke. So yeah, ARS is a really awesome rack, pretty much the best racks that you can get. These are all ARS racks that I have here in my collection. The ARS and the Freedom Breeders, I'd say, are pretty much the two top racks as far as rack systems. Shout out to my son. What's up, Jackson Charles? Jax really likes your videos. Thank you for watching. Slytherin reptiles, vanilla and fire are hard to tell apart like yellow belly and gravel. What's kind of funny is I was watching, I think it was a video by, I think it was Freedom Breeder, one of their very early videos, and they actually had vanilla cream. So the vanilla cream is a combination of the vanilla fire. And it was kind of interesting because they said they would not recommend making a vanilla cream because when you breed it, you produce vanillas and fires, and you can't tell the difference between a vanilla and a fire. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. But keep in mind, the super vanilla is actually almost looks like kind of like a vanilla cream, where it has like a jumbled up pattern, and then the super fire is actually a black-eyed leucistic. It's an all-white snake with black eyes. So they're definitely different genes, and then when you work them into other combinations, sometimes it can be hard to tell if you have one or the other. But if you make the supers, you can definitely tell what you actually have, vanilla or fire. Let's see. Hey, my Bol Python started stargazing after going off feed and has died. Yeah. That is, do you only have one Bol Python or do you have more? So if they stargaze and then die, I think that's what IBD, inclusion body disease or something like that. It's actually a really contagious disease, mainly in boa constrictors, that has those same symptoms, stargazing, and then it dies. And it's really contagious. I've actually seen some people where they get it in their collection and it'll go through and sweep through and kill every single snake in their reptile room. And as a matter of fact, I had one person I sold a snake to that had a problem with it. And they're like, I want to test your snake. I want to quarantine it and test it. I guess they can do like a mouth swab and send it to a lab. And they test it for that disease. And they said, hey, if it's positive, we're sending your snake back. And I was like, I guarantee I don't have that disease here in my collection. But I'm thinking that might be what it is. That's a pretty scary disease. What more allelic combos besides highways and freeways? Good question. So highways and freeways. So highway is an allelic combination between the gravel and the yellow belly. So when you breed it to something, you get half gravels and half yellow bellies. You won't get any normals. So that's allelic. And then the freeway is the combination of the asphalt and the yellow belly. You can also make allelic combinations with your blue-eyed leucistics are all allelic. So if you make a lesser bamboo with 2 genes in the blue-eyed leucistic complex, there's the pumas. The pumas are the spark and the yellow bellies. There's the super stripes that are allelic. Super stripe. What is the other gene in the super stripe? I should know that. I think it's Spectre and yellow belly. I think in the super. Let me look it up real quick. Spectre and yellow belly. That is another allelic. I'm trying to think what else is allelic. Cinnamon and black pastel is also allelic. There was another one. Someone, I think it was Justin Kobelka, just discovered with Enchi. I think he said Enchi and cinnamon were allelic, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, there's quite a few different allelics. As a matter of fact, I think I have a whole video on allelics that I went through pretty much everything I could think of. And I made a video on allelic combinations. I think I put a whole spreadsheet together and went over them. So you can actually go back and look at that one. Yeah, breathing in that Coke will get you. Let's see. I want to get a double recessive gene male. I need a clown to be one. What would the other one be? Yeah, so yeah, anything with clown, double recessive could be pretty expensive. Clown pieds are really awesome. If you could afford a clown pied. I think clown albinos are a little less expensive. You could do that. You could do a clown ghost. I'm actually working on a triple het project. I'm actually breeding my albino pied clown triple hets together this year, which is pretty awesome. So maybe I'll actually get some albino clowns or some clown pieds that could be possible het for the other. What I really want to hit is I want to hit the triple visual albino pied clown, but the odds of hitting that with 2 snakes, I think, is like 1 in 10 years that I'll actually hit the triple visual. So you never know what I'll actually get. But maybe actually next spring, next summer, I'll actually have some double recessive visual clowns for sale, which would be pretty awesome. Yeah, Anchi cinnamon is another allelic. Spot nose and chocolate. That's interesting. I didn't know about spot nose and chocolate. That must be like a recent discovery on that one. Recent, like in the last 6 years. Let's see. All right, 2 times. Been a sub for almost 2 years now. Thank you. Let's see. Can't seem to find. Let's see. This is Shadowfire Omega. What's up? Can't seem to find any info on Super Orange Dream, Super Black Pastel. Is this a viable morph or are they on the same allele? Good question. I would say probably not on the same allele. They're probably not allelic. Not that I know of. Super Black Pastel, keep in mind the Super Black Pastel is a completely black snake, almost jet black with no pattern at all. It's almost impossible for anything to break through the Super Black Pastel. So if you actually did make a Super Orange Dream, Super Black Pastel, it may not look that much different than the Super Black Pastel. As a matter of fact, if you actually go over to Morphmarket and look up all the Super Black Pastel combinations, not a whole lot has actually been made with other genes on top of Super Black Pastel as far as what I've seen a couple of years ago. And I think one of the reasons is because the Super Black Pastel is kind of prone to genetic defects like duck billing or some kinking. Some people say there's some possible kinking with the Super Black Pastel. So I'd say not a lot of people actually produce them. And that's probably why you don't see a lot of other genes in combination with the Super Black Pastel. Doormat 233, what's up? Is it a lot of work to sell on Morphmarket? It's a lot of work if you have a lot of snakes. Over on Morphmarket, they have to come up with a better system on Morphmarket. So the problem is I'll actually post a snake over on Morphmarket, and then someone says, "Hey, I want to buy the snake," and they ask for a price on shipping, and usually the shipping is a deal breaker. A lot of times I say, "Well, this is the total. This is my PayPal email," and then they never get back to me. And then I have someone else that says the same thing, and they find out the shipping or whatever. A lot of people, and then all of a sudden, I have like 3 people that want it all at once, and then I'm like, yeah, it's like people are like almost fighting over the same thing. And then I sell it to one person, and then other people are disappointed because I sold it to someone else. There almost has to be like a buy it now button or something like that over on Morphmarket. So if you want to buy it, you buy it. Pretty much my policy is, hey, the first person who pays me the money in my PayPal gets that snake, and that's pretty much how I do it. But it can be frustrating, and a lot of people can get pretty disappointed, especially if multiple people want the same snake. Do I have a video on enclosure sizes? I actually do have one where I went through all the different tub sizes here in my collection and did like the measurement in inches, the length and the width and the depth, and I kind of showed you all the different tubs. So I do have a video on that. Desert Ghost is the other major recessive. Yes, Desert Ghost it's always been really hot, Desert Ghost, pretty much since I started. All right, Billy Boy. Just picked up a pastel Mojave red stripe yellow belly female. Nice. I'm going to use to work into my clown project, and a bamboo male. Nice. So I have seen the red stripe clowns. I remember when Justin Kobelka first made some of those with the red stripe. It was pretty amazing. Let's see. Isn't Het Clown allelic with something? Yes, Het Clown is allelic with cryptic. Yes. You get the cryptic, krypton. Let me see. Cryptic. Yeah, cryptic is the gene. Cryptic is recessive, so if you have 2 copies of cryptic, you get a visual. If you have 1 copy of the cryptic, 1 copy of the clown, it's called a krypton, which looks exactly the same as the cryptic, which is kind of interesting. It kind of shatters the pattern a little bit, and that gives you like striping on the neck of the snake, which is interesting. Let's see. Drifter Easy Living. What's up? Hey there. What would you pair with the Super Pastel Enchi? Good question. So I actually have a video. I called it Killer Snakes. I think I called it. I should have called it Super Pastel Ball Pythons or something like that. But it was a whole video about the super pastel and working other genes into the super pastel. And you can work almost anything into super pastel and make some really amazing combinations. So as a matter of fact, if I was starting over again, I would probably breed a super pastel Enchi with anything super pastel, because you'd make all super pastels and work a lot of other genes into super pastel. You can make some pretty amazing combinations. Derek's Reptiles, thank you for the super chat. Hardwick is my uncle. Thank you very much. Let's see. Derek Reptiles, what's up? Let's see. Head Clown, Head Cryptics makes Krypton, yes. Let's see. So you do go live. Yeah, I usually go live maybe about once a week. I used to go live on every Sunday night. I used to start at about 6. Well, as a matter of fact, lately I've been doing 3 to 6 on Sundays. But tonight I just kind of started late. Let's see. My new Ball Python seems to be very timid, sensitive, and defensive at the same time. Get bit during handling several times. Should I be handling every day, maybe at lower frequency? So personally, I think for like a really timid, defensive snake, what I would actually do is I'd pick that snake up and just handle it for like 45 minutes. Something like that. Have like a really solid block of time that you're handling that snake, and then maybe give it, maybe 2 or 3 days off, and then handle it again for 45 minutes. It seems like someone actually gave me a snake that they said it was the most defensive hatchling that they had ever produced, and I actually had a bunch of people with me at the time, a bunch of visitors here at the house. And we actually worked with that snake for 45 minutes. And let me tell you, after 45 minutes, it completely went out of defensive mode and started relaxing and crawling around and becoming really tame. You really got to work with it for quite a while, like a really good block of time. Because I think a lot of people with a defensive snake, if you just pick it up and hold it for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, or just, maybe even 5 minutes, a lot of times it doesn't have enough time to really relax and gain trust with you. So it needs a longer time in one sitting, I think. Do I keep any out of racks? No, all my ball pythons are in racks. Bobby is normally the one that's out of the rack the most, and he's always on my shoulder if he's not in a rack. So we're usually shooting videos. We used to shoot videos every day for years, but lately I haven't been doing the daily videos. Been kind of, I was doing daily videos on my motorcycle channel for a while, but yeah, kind of winding down a little. I need to start doing daily videos again. Need to crank it up again. For a while, I was doing 2 videos a day. I don't know if you remember those times. That was crazy. 2 videos a day. Let's see. What would you pair to a stranger clown to make something really neat? Wow, a stranger clown. Whew. That's interesting. So stranger is, yeah, I'd have to actually look into that. I don't even think I've actually seen a stranger clown. When I did I think I did a video on the stranger. I don't know if there was a stranger clown in existence back when I did that video. But yeah, anything with stranger is pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome gene. Do you have how to probe hatchling videos? Yes. I have several videos on how to probe snakes. Actually probe some adults. Quite a few videos. I think I have like 3 videos on how to probe hatchlings. I have one called Watch Me Probe Hatchlings and Take a Lot of Bites. I had like the most aggressive hatchlings here. I think I got bit like 20 times in that video. It was crazy. Usually I don't get bit hardly at all. Let's see. What's your favorite animal other than snakes? I would probably say my beef cattle. I actually have 4 cows now. And my bull weighs probably about 3,000 pounds. He's like a mini elephant. Really big and really sweet. Really super friendly bull. He scares most people. Most people come over and they see that bull and they're like terrified of that thing. But he'll come over and just lick me to death. He's a pretty awesome animal. Let's see. I got a 4x2x2 PVC. Wondering if it's too much. I would think that would be a good size. Bash Coder, what's up? First 5 pairings started tonight. Wouldn't have happened without you. Also, the Bobby Line girls are doing great. Nice. Bobby Line girls. Sweet. Yeah, I'm actually breeding my male bamboo calico to a bamboo lemon blast this year, hoping for some super bamboos. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Is there any definitive way to tell the difference between Desert Ghost and Enhancer? So yeah, I actually did a video on Desert Ghost versus Enhancer. And the interesting thing on that video, I actually did a little bit of research and found out if you breed a Desert Ghost with an Enhancer, they're actually compatible. You end up with hatchlings that look like the Desert Ghost Enhancers. They would all be double hets, but they would be visuals. So pretty much at the end of the video, I was like, I think Desert Ghost and Enhancer are the same gene. That was kind of the conclusion of my video, looking at all the different examples. And everyone jumped on top of me. They're like, obviously you haven't bred Desert Ghost side by side with Enhancer because there is a big difference between the two. So I think the jury's still out. Some people think that Desert Ghost and Enhancer is different. I think the Enhancers are a lot more expensive than the Desert Ghost. So there's that too. Another conclusion I actually had in that video, if you have Desert Ghost and Enhancer, I would definitely not breed them together and cross the two. It's because you'd actually confuse them. It's almost like breeding a lesser to a butter, because then you'd end up with like a blue-eyed leucistic. That would be half lesser and half butter. If you bred it to something else, everything would be butter / lesser. You wouldn't know exactly what it was. Some people think butter and lesser are the same. I think there are differences between the two. What's the best python you got? That is Bobby, my bamboo ball python, sleeping around my neck here. He finally went to sleep. Bobby's on Bull's neck. Next slide. I was thinking about kind of a funny video, how to make a bull snake. I was gonna take one of my ball pythons and put it on my bull, and there's the bull snake. I still haven't quite figured out how to do it where it wouldn't be really corny though. I think I pretty much decided against it. I don't know what a bull would do to a ball python if it actually saw it. Definitely do not want a bull freaking out. Let's see. Let's see. Lots of questions. Lots of questions. All right. Do you plan on eating your pet cattle? So yeah, I don't know. So far, I haven't actually processed any of my cattle. So one of the problems is, so if I was thinking about processing my bull, but the problem is if you actually send that bull to the butcher, I would actually need 4 full-size freezers for all that meat. It's an incredible amount of meat. And then the other thing is, for a bull that big, there's only a few butchers that would actually do it, and they're at least 2 years out. So I'd have to schedule it for 2 years down the road in order to process that bull. So pretty much all cattle right now, everything's so backed up for processing cattle. You're like 2 years out, which is crazy. So what I usually do is, since they're kind of pets, I usually just sell them. I kind of raise them up just as pets and then sell them live. That's kind of the easiest way to do it. And then use that money to go to Safeway and buy beef, I guess. Let's see. Leroy Potts. How do you get rid of mites? Good question. So there's actually, I can't even remember the name. There's some stuff you can actually spray directly on snakes. You could wipe them down. It was called Nature's or Natural something or other. I can't remember exactly what it was called. But I actually used that for a long time. There's actually Prevenamite, what you can actually do is take the snake out of the tub, spray a little Prevenamite on the substrate, let it dry a little bit, and then put the snake back in. Some people use that. Some people use olive oil, wipe the snake down with olive oil to get rid of mites. But yeah, so I had mites. I fought for months to get rid of those mites. They're absolutely. One thing you have to remember about mites is not only are they in your rack with your snakes, but what will actually happen is the mites will come out on the floor and they'll crawl even in the next room. So what happens is you completely eliminate all the mites in your snake collection, and then the mite from the other room will actually crawl in and come under, on the floor, and then crawl back up and reinfect your snakes. I think that was what was happening with me. And at the time, I finally got rid of them by just kind of spraying everything down every day and cleaning all the tubs, and then vacuuming the floor. I actually had carpet in here, and I would vacuum every single day here in my reptile room. And I think the vacuuming is what really helped me get rid of them. Nick Corden, what's up? Here in Colorado, I just picked up a juvenile ball python yesterday. Nice. Let's see. Any thoughts on salmonella from snakes? That's a good question. So I have never seen anybody get salmonella from snakes. I think you have a higher chance of getting salmonella from chickens and chicken eggs. It's kind of interesting because it's almost like a lot of people said that you can get salmonella from snakes. I have never seen one person ever get salmonella. As a matter of fact, if you talk to some of these really big breeders and they talk about salmonella, they say they've had thousands and thousands of snakes. Never once did anyone ever get salmonella from any of their snakes. So I don't know how true that is as far as getting salmonella from a snake. One interesting fact you may not know is here in Colorado, they can't sell turtles. smaller than a certain size. And from what I've heard, is turtles actually carry salmonella. And if they're too small, a lot of times kids will actually take the turtle and put them in their mouth, and they'll actually get salmonella from the turtle. That's why it has to be a certain size turtle to sell it at some of the reptile shows, because of the salmonella, which I thought was pretty interesting. I don't know if that's true. That's just kind of what I heard through the grapevine. Minion Museum, what's up? I have one of Bobby's daughters, breeding her to a black pastel leopard lesser. Wow, cool. Black pastel leopard lesser. So you'll actually get blue-eyed leucistics with a combination of the lesser and the bamboo, which is pretty awesome. Black pastel leopard, you might get some really dark bamboos from that combination too. It'd be interesting to see what leopard does to the pattern on a bamboo, because the leopard can really jumble up the pattern. Let's see. Enhancer is brighter with more blushing. Desert Ghost has darker blacks and less blushing. So yeah, so a lot of times when you have so I was always wondering, because you can actually look at Desert Ghost versus Enhancer. Certain versions of each one can be really different. So a lot of times when you're comparing different morphs that are really similar, a lot of times it's a little difficult because there's a lot of variation just in one morph, from one example of the morph to the other. So, but some people are convinced across the board that there is a difference between Desert Ghost and Enhancer. So yeah, I don't have any Enhancer, so I really don't know firsthand. Slytherin Reptiles, what's your top pairing for this season? What are you hoping to hit? Yeah, so I actually added, go on Bobby, stop choking me out. So I actually added some new snakes that have been growing out to my rotation this year. Pretty much my number one is I'm actually breeding a lesser scaleless head male to a pastel pinstripe scaleless head female. I actually have two lemon blast scaleless heads, hoping for the completely scaleless pastel pinstripe lesser, which would be pretty awesome. And if you know anything about the scaleless, I actually did a video on the scaleless ball pythons. And let me tell you, if you look at the genes in the scaleless, it's almost like learning ball pythons completely from scratch, because it's not what you'd expect as far as the visual appearance of those genes in with the scaleless, which is kind of interesting. So it'll be kind of interesting to see if I can identify all the different genes in with the scaleless, because it completely jumbles it up and it looks completely different. But yeah, if I hit a scaleless, I would definitely hold back a scaleless, just as a kind of an interesting, maybe not even as a breeder, maybe just as a pet, which would be kind of interesting, with a completely different feel to the snake, which would be pretty wild. If I had a Titanoboa, do you think there'd be a market for it? Yeah, Titanoboa, that's like the biggest snake that ever existed, which is extinct. Yeah, I don't know if that's like the Titanoboa, yeah, that would eat cows or something like that. It'd be huge. You'd go broke feeding your Titanoboa. I wonder how big the eggs would be on that snake. I predict a Bobby yawn is coming. Yep. We are at 1 hour 53 minutes. Still have 81 people on the live, which is kind of crazy. Let's see. My phone just reset. It says I'm live, which is weird. It like disconnects and connects after like 2 hours. Let's see. Could you not sell some of the meat to the butcher? Yeah. I probably could. Oh, reptiles, natural. Yeah, so natural chemistry reptile relief spray. That's the safest mite preventative. Let's see. Why is my snake always under the water dish? Good question. Yeah, so I actually use dog bowls with like it's like a metal bowl. Well, in some of my bigger enclosures, I use like the dog bowl that has a lip on the bottom, and then I put the Pro Cocoa around it, and then if you keep your substrate damp enough, it'll actually hold the water bowl down so your snake can't get under it. And then in all my other tubs in my rack systems, I actually have the water bowls built into the tubs. So it's actually the plastic part where it's actually attached so a snake can't get under it. Yeah, I have used water dishes where the snake could get under it, and it seemed like they always wanted to get under it. So you could try using a different kind of a water dish. A strange child. I just went to a reptile expo in Colorado, got a pair of proven head G stripes. Nice. Fun morphs that use these guys. I got them for $175. So it's kind of interesting. Genetic stripe was pretty expensive and really popular early on, and it kind of fell out of popularity. And I think it's just recently coming back. As a matter of fact, if you look at like some of the banana genetic stripes, the G stripes, you can actually make some pretty amazing combinations. As a matter of fact, I have a video on G stripes. You can check that one out. But I think it's I can't remember the guy's name that was doing a lot of work with the genetic stripes. I can't remember his name. I'll think of it in a bit, but he actually works with it quite a bit, and I think of the work that he's doing and the YouTube videos that he's doing, he's really kind of increasing the demand for a lot of the genetic stripe stuff. Alexandra Hughes, what's up? I just got a new corn snake, and I was wondering how long I should let him adjust before I handle him. Good question. So I'd say if you get a snake in the mail, I would probably give them maybe at least 2 to 3 days. If you pick it up at a reptile show, you probably can handle them right away because they haven't really been through kind of the trauma of shipping, potential trauma. Let's see. Have I been to Arizona? I've been through Arizona on my way to California. Yeah. I don't think I've spent a lot of time in Arizona. All right. Would you recommend I breed my female ghost double het pied ultramel to? Wow. Oh, wow. Ghost double het pied ultramel. Wow. So yeah, you can breed it to boy. If you could find another pied ultramel double het, I would probably breed it to that. Go for the ultramel pied. It's probably one of my favorite ultramel combinations. It's like a really super bright pied. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, with ghosts, you mix that in with ghosts, it'd be kind of an interesting combination if you could hit like the triple visual on that one. Jessica, it's almost 1 a.m. here. It is almost 11 o'clock here. So yeah, work in the morning, great content, beautiful noodles, quality information. Wishing you all the best. Good night. All right. Taurus mites, yes, if you can find Taurus mites. I actually did a video on that one too. It's a mite that eats snake mites, but they're pretty expensive, the Taurus mites. And if you got Taurus mites for a collection of like 150 snakes, like in my situation here, I don't know if it would be really practical. As a matter of fact, I was kind of trying to figure out the price back in the day when I had mites. If I was to do the Taurus mites, and it was like hundreds of dollars to buy Taurus mites to treat a collection of like 150 snakes. I don't think it would be practical. Although a lot of people say if you use the Taurus mites to get rid of mites, it's the safest and most effective. So there's that too. If you can figure out how to raise Taurus mites, if you can breed them and multiply, that would be the way to go. That would be pretty awesome. All right, my Ball Python ate a bunch of bedding with her mouse the other day. Any advice on what I should do? So that's one of the reasons I actually moved to the coconut husk. If you actually get it just right, it actually forms kind of a solid mat on the bottom of the enclosure. So if you build it up to like an inch and a half, and you have enough moisture in with the coconut husk chips, it'll actually form like a solid mat. And I actually started with aspen, and it seemed like one of the problems that I had with aspen is every single time, and almost every single snake, they'd get aspen chips like sticking out of their mouth, and I'd have to go through and try to pick up the snakes and pull the aspen chips out of the mouth of the snake. It was awful. So it could be you might want to think about switching to a different substrate. Let's see. Honey biscuits, totally unrelated. I just ordered my first Western hognose. Nice. She's an Arctic albino anaconda. So what's interesting is the hognose are actually considered rear fang venomous. And as a matter of fact, this last reptile show, I was actually looking at some of the information, and they're actually banning hognoses in some reptile shows here in Colorado. And the other thing about hognoses in Colorado is they're actually native to Colorado. So I think you can only own or breed so many. You can only have like a handful of hognoses, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, it's one of the things that's a little bit problematic here in Colorado, the hognoses. Skeptic knowledge, what's up? Is it normal for my 2-month-old ball python to eat every 3 to 4 days? So yes, you can feed every 3 to 4 days. So really depends on the snake. If the snake is looking kind of skinny, depends on the size of the rodent you're feeding to. You can feed every 3 to 4 days. If you're feeding really big rodents and your snake looks really fat and chunky, I would probably kind of spread it out a little bit. I pretty much go by the appearance of the snake. But as a matter of fact, if you feed every 4 days constantly until that snake is like a year old, feeding every 4 days, that snake will grow really super fast, which is pretty much. I've actually done that. As a matter of fact, I actually bought a snake on Craigslist that was the size of a hatchling, that was like almost like 8 or 9 months old or something like that. The guy was not feeding it at all. And I started feeding it every 4 days, and within a year, that thing was like, I think it was almost like 1,500 grams. It caught up really super fast. Best banana combo. Good question. So I really like banana inchy, anything with inchy and banana. I made a banana inchy this year. It was probably one of my most beautiful snakes, which is just straight banana and inchy. I like bananas in the freeways. The banana asphalt yellow belly, probably the most stunning snake that is in all the ball pythons. The banana freeway is pretty amazing. They kind of changes the age of mature because they have the banana in it, but as a hatchling, the banana freeways are mind-blowing. Let's see, Max. How much should a 1-year-old male weigh? I got 4 males from the same breeder at the same time. One is refused every feeding. Currently 260 grams at 1-year-old. Ooh. Yeah, 1-year-old, I would say, usually a 1-year-old, kind of the average I'd say is about 800 grams. So that's like a third of the size. Sometimes if they refuse feeding 260 grams out, 260 grams, what I would actually do is I would go to a live mouse. That's a pretty small snake. I'll try a live mouse once, and then maybe follow up the next week with a frozen thawed rat. And if that doesn't work, I would go back to a live mouse and keep going back and forth. Or you can do, what you could do is you could try the live mouse and then follow up with a frozen thawed mouse. That's what normally the kind of the progression. And then once they're on frozen thawed mice, go up to a frozen thawed rat. And then if they refuse the rat, go to the frozen thawed mouse. And then if they refuse that, go back to the live mouse. The live mice are like candy to ball pythons. They'll eat them almost every single time. All right, we got a super chat from Moonstone. What's up, Moonstone? You think the market is softening a bit? I don't think so. Everybody asks how the market is. Every single year, they're worried about the market being flooded, and it seems like the prices are increasing, and I think the market's actually getting better as we kind of go into everything that's going on, kind of in like politics, and everyone's kind of losing their job, and everyone's thinking about working from home. There's so many reasons. A lot of people are getting into breeding ball pythons. A lot of people want to make a little extra money, so I think it's actually increasing, helping the ball python market. Kind of the craziness that's going on. Let's see. You getting a powerhouse male to throw to some of your females? So the last powerhouse male, I guess you could say, was my banana inchy clown. So I produce a lot of banana inchy pastel pinstripe combinations, which is kind of interesting. All het clowns. So I got some really cool het clown stuff. That was kind of the last one. One of the ones that I'm holding back, I got some pretty cool multi-gene, like 4 or 5 gene stuff that I produce as hatchlings that I'm going to breed back into my collection. But yeah, I definitely need to invest in something at some point, like another gene or something maybe like a codominant to breed through my collection. Best banana combo is a banana inchy clown. Yes. Yeah, but I actually have a banana inchy clown. It's a pretty good one. It's hard to get those mites in the US. They don't have a very long shelf life. So the question is, how do they produce those mites? If you can figure out how to breed them and reproduce them, I think you could actually breed those mites. And as a matter of fact, you could probably have a good market if you could figure out how to breed them and sell them. That'd be pretty awesome. Let's see, Richard Hackett. Have you done a video on the different lines of hypo? Yes. I did do a video. It's been a while since I did that video. Let's see. So hypo is the ghost. There's actually the regular ghost. There is the orange ghost. The orange ghost is usually compatible with the regular ghost. Once in a while, you get an orange ghost that's not compatible with the regular ghost. You also have the butterscotch ghost, which is not compatible with the orange ghost or the regular ghost. And then there's the true ghost, which is the axanthic ghosts. So there's also a couple other minor ghosts. I think there's the green ghosts, which I don't think is compatible with the other ghosts. The ghosts are kind of interesting because some of them are compatible, some of them aren't, but I'd say most of them that are just the regular ghost or the orange ghost, most of those are compatible with each other. Let's see. Do you plan on getting any other snakes besides ball pythons? So I might get a boa constrictor at some point. So I was thinking about getting maybe a super, I think it's a super fire, which is the completely white. It's like a black-eyed leucistic boa constrictor. but they're still about $2,000. And I probably get a female first and sit on it for a few years before I get a male. So that's probably the next snake that I get that's not a ball python. Richard thinks his hypo video is called The Four Ghosts. Yeah, I think it was like I think I did make a video called The Four Ghosts or something like that. As a matter of fact, I did several different ghost videos, but I think that one might have been the best one. Just bought my first male albino het pied. Sell me your female albino het pied. Let's see. Just the Boss Gaming. You want a female albino het pied? Let's see. Let me look. So I do have, let's see. So I have my female albino het pied. I'm saving one of them. Matter of fact, I have a male albino het pied. Hold on. I might have one actually. No, I have a male albino pied. Yeah, so I don't know. Actually, I do have one. I think I'm going to hold it back, but I do have another one in my collection that's an adult. So I don't know. I might sell that one if you're interested. Just the Boss Gaming. I might put it on Morphmarket, maybe. Keep an eye on my Morphmarket. I might have that female albino het pied up for sale at some point. I have way too many holdbacks this year. I think I have like holdback that's like marked on like 10 of them. And I only have like 8 tubs, so I'm going to have to figure out the ones that I really want. I definitely want to hold back 2 of my triple het females and my female albino pied. And yeah, there's some of them that I definitely want to hold back for sure. Let's see. All right, I came across someone who brought up cat proofing the enclosure. As a cat owner, I was curious how one goes about doing it, so they didn't really say. Any tips for cat proofing your enclosure? Well, I've never had a cat. Yeah, so depends what your enclosure looks like, I would say. So like for me, I actually have a separate room for my reptile room. So I would definitely not let the cat in here. Yeah, but that could be a problem. You definitely want a secure enclosure. I'd probably, as a matter of fact, if you're doing a glass aquarium, some of these critter cages actually have a little place you can put a little padlock on the front of them. So you might do that to keep the cat out. But yeah, you definitely don't want your cat getting in with your snake. Let's see. I want to make a YouTube channel about ball pythons and my breeding journey. What should my first video be about? I would probably just introduce yourself. The first video, say, hey, this is my first video. This is what I'm doing. And this is my equipment or my room or whatever. And then just kind of show your racks and some of your snakes and stuff. That's probably what I would do. It's kind of like an introduction to the channel and kind of what you're thinking about doing. Even if you don't have any ball pythons or racks or anything, you can just talk about what you're thinking about buying. And then every time you buy something, you could do a video. I kind of wish I started my channel like right at the beginning when I started buying. I was like obsessed buying snakes all the time. And I didn't start my channel until kind of later on when I already had a bunch of snakes. DG Reptiles, what's up? Part of having a YouTube channel is coming up with video ideas, for sure, for sure. Wow, I'm pretty far behind on the questions. So another thing with YouTube is you don't want to get sucked into doing kind of questionable content where they could eventually demonetize it or take your videos down. That's the one thing. I've actually seen a lot of channels get into trouble where they just go in and delete their whole channel. So you kind of have to really be careful that it's kind of acceptable to all viewers. The other thing is kids under 13, if they're in your video, then you have to mark your videos as kids. So I would probably keep kids under 13 out of your videos if you want your channel to really take off. Let's see. I bleed KTM. Do you know much about the Lucifer gene? About a 700 gram male and not really finding much in this morph. Super pastel Lucifer yellow belly. So I'm not sure on the Lucifer. As a matter of fact, I haven't done a video on Lucifer. I may be wrong, but I think Lucifer may be another line of fire. I think it may be in the black-eyed leucistic complex. Maybe, I think, maybe. I'm not 100% sure on that one. All right, Maximize Pepper. What is the best combo for my Lemon Blast Butter Genetic Stripe? Ooh. Lemon Blast Butter Genetic Stripe. What I would actually do is I would go over to Morphmarket and look at all the different genetic stripe combinations and see what really appeals to you. Like one of my favorites, like the banana genetic stripe, and then do like maybe banana and some other genes, and then do like het genetic stripe or something like that, where you get a lot of other genes and then mix it in. You can make some pretty amazing genetic stripe combos. Let's see. Do you think the influx of people starting to breed and working at home will flood the market over the next couple of years? I don't really think so. I don't know if you could ever really flood the market on ball pythons just because there's so many different genes out there. So if you had like a dozen genes, I could see where you could easily flood the market, but with hundreds, like almost 300 genes and all the new genes coming out all the time. And then every time someone comes out with a new gene, everyone wants to work that new gene into all their other genes. So it's almost like every gene is almost like a new snake that you can add to the hobby. So I don't see where you could really completely flood the market with ball pythons ever, really. And another thing to keep in mind, if you actually look at the population clock, how many new people are being born every day? There's so many new people on the planet. I remember when I was a kid, which is not that long ago, there was only like 5 billion people on the planet. And now there's like 8 billion. So that's another 3 billion people just in my lifetime that all need ball pythons. So, and it's exponential. So I don't know if you could ever flood an exponential population taking off. If you kind of think about it that way, it kind of puts a different perspective on flooding the market. Let's see. I've always been a fan. I'm moving, can't keep my 2 babies. Would you like them for free? So yeah, depends what they are. If they're just normal ball pythons, probably what I would do is I just bring them to a reptile store. A lot of times if you bring like ball pythons into any reptile store, they'll give you, a lot of times they'll give you store credit, and sometimes they'll just pay you cash outright. Let me tell you, ball pythons are just worth money. So I'm kind of hesitant bringing new ball pythons into my collection because of the risk of mites and all the other diseases, the respiratory infections and all that. So the only way I'd really bring a snake into my collection if it was something I really wanted and had to have something that was like, like a new gene or combination that I wanted to bring in. Other than that, I haven't brought a new snake in my collection for like 2 years now. I'm like just scared to death of getting mites again. I do not want mites. Is Morphmarket the way to go? There's pros and cons with Morphmarket, I'd say. For selling snakes, I'd say selling snakes at a reptile show is a lot easier, because if you're sitting up at a reptile show and you have like, for me, I have like 60 snakes on an 8-foot table, or sometimes I'll have like 70 or 80 snakes on an 8-foot table, and I can just sell like 30, 35 snakes just back to back, just selling them. And then it's so much easier to sell them like all at once to people just walking up to your table versus, posting, 30 different ads on Morphmarket and then dealing with like 60 people asking about all the different snakes, and they want more pictures and they want to know all this other information, and then boxing them up and shipping them and then dealing with all that stuff. So I don't know. There's pros and cons either way. Morphmarket, I'd say the other thing with Morphmarket is you can kind of spread out your income over the year, which is kind of a lot better to manage your money. So for example, like when I'm breeding ball pythons and I start running out of money, I'm like, all right, I need to post some more snakes for sale. Versus if you go to the reptile show and you sell like, $10,000 worth of snakes, then you have to realize, all right, I need to take this $10,000 and it needs to last me 6 months, and I have to really budget that money as far as, being a breeder. So that's the other thing with one versus the other. As far as buying snakes, I'd say on Morphmarket, you probably have a better variety as far as buying snakes, but I always think it's a little bit safer as far as the risk of diseases to buy from a reptile show, where you can actually see if there's mites on the snake, see if there's any kinks or respiratory diseases buying it at a reptile show. So I'd say there's pros and cons either way. If you buy it at a reptile show, you're not paying for shipping either, which can be as much as like $80 in some cases. All right, Bobby. Come on, boy. All right, AG was in the lab today extracting DNA from 57 spider shed skin. By next year, we'll know the genetic basis of about 10 morphs. Awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, if you could take a shed from a snake and figure out all the genes in it, that would be pretty big. Especially people breeding like 4 or 5 gene snakes together, and they end up with like a 10 gene snake, and they all look they're all impossible to identify. That would be really powerful if you could do some DNA testing. All right, Anthony Hudson. I haven't seen my youngest snake regurgitate, but I'm finding almost fully digested meals mixed with urate. Is she passing food too quickly? Almost fully digested meals. It could be regurgitation. I don't think I've ever seen a ball python pass a rodent all the way through that wasn't completely digested. I don't know if I've ever heard about that. Usually it's kind of interesting because I can walk in my reptile room and I can smell almost right away if a snake is regurgitated. It has an interesting smell that smells completely different than a snake going to the bathroom. So I would say more than likely it could be regurgitation. Never seen anything like what you're talking about if it's actually going all the way through the snake. 2 free ball pythons, wild morph. You should figure out if they're male or females. If they're female, full-size females, wild morph, especially if they're like 1,500 grams, you could probably get like $300, I'd say, for full-size female normal ball pythons ready to breed. If they're males, yeah, it'd be like a pet only. Let's see. Let's see, Stephanie Little, what's up? I was wondering, using a ZooMed Reptibator style incubator, what is the safe distance between the heating element and the top of the egg? Good question. So, ZooMed Reptibator style incubator. I'm not real familiar with that incubator. Good question. I'm not sure. You definitely don't want it too close to the heating element, especially if it's an on-off heating element that gets like full on and full off. That's one of the reasons I actually, when I built my incubator, I actually took my probe for my thermostat, and I attached it directly to the thing that gets hot. So I don't know if you can kind of change that, if it actually pulses on and off, or if it's like full on and full off. So I'm not sure about that. Just bought a Sunset Pinstripe Pie. Nice. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I should have bought Sunset a long time ago. Let's see. Is there any way I can send you pics of some snakes? I get this question a lot. I don't know if I'd be any good at identifying a lot of what people are talking about. I got a leopard crossed with spot, super gravel, bamboo, anchi pin, lemon blast, azanthic corgula. Wow. I don't know if I'd be good. It's kind of interesting because I breed snakes and I know what the starting genes are. And sometimes I look at these snakes and I'm like, what in the world is this? And sometimes that's kind of the hardest part of breeding snakes, is trying to figure out what you have. And what I'd actually do is I'd go over to Morphmarket and look at all the different possible combinations and all the variations of that combination and get an idea that way. Sometimes it takes a long time. It's kind of interesting because sometimes I'll hold up hatchlings after they hatch and I'll be like, I think these are the genes in this snake. And I'd say probably every time I go through my hatchlings, at least 2 or 3 are wrong. And I have to go back and correct them. And I start thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think that gene's in there. Or, you know, I produce something else, maybe in a different clutch that has one less gene or something. Then I'm like, hey, I know for sure, you know, based on this thing that I produced over here, that this thing actually has this other gene in it. So sometimes it's actually putting snakes side by side with and without certain genes to actually figure out which genes are in your hatchlings. Probably one of the most time consuming, one of the most difficult things is identifying your hatchlings. Let's see. Growing up boxer, have you ever had a snake fairly young die for any reasons where you just can't figure out what happened? Yes. Usually all the snakes that have died in my collection usually die in the egg or shortly after hatching, and sometimes you just can't figure it out. And sometimes, especially like in the hatching boxes, seems like I always, when I lose snakes, when snakes die, it's usually always in the hatchling box. They either die in the egg. As a matter of fact, I had one just this year. I think it died in the egg because it was alive in the egg, and I think all the other snakes hatched out and kind of jumped up on top of the egg and kind of smothered it. And that was kind of unfortunate, but sometimes, yeah, young snakes, it seems like after a snake is like a month old, it's pretty much bulletproof, but usually right after hatching is kind of the most susceptible time. Let's see. All of my enclosures stay around 84. Yeah, you could. That's a pretty good temperature. If there are Canadians watching, send us your sheds. Interesting. On hot side, 80 on the cool side. Yeah. So I actually do 90 on my hot spot, 80 on my cool side. So usually about 81 degrees in my reptile room, which is pretty hot. Anyone in the MD area looking for a breeder female butter inchy fire? Wow. Yeah. So yeah, if you have any breeder females, I would probably list them over on Morphmarket. I can almost guarantee they're going to sell super fast. You can actually go over to shipyourreptiles.com, and they actually have a discount for shipping if you ship through there. But usually, I would say, especially recently, it seems like you can't really find any breeder females, and they go super fast over on Morphmarket. Anything 1,500 grams or over, they sell for a lot of money, especially something like that. Yeah, that'd be really easy to sell. Lucifer is Kevin's line of fire. Yes, that's what I thought. Have you seen the banana sunset? No, I have not seen the banana sunset. It's kind of interesting because the sunset is really visually dominant. It's almost like it's almost up there with the champagne or the monsoon or something like that, really super visually dominant. And the banana is visually dominant too, really strong color in the banana. So it's one of the ones I think that would go really good with the sunset. Do you have leopard geckos? I actually had a few leopard geckos, and the thing that drove me crazy is the crickets. I could not take the crickets. And then the cricket, I'd always have a cricket get out and it would be like in the corner somewhere, like making noise all night long. And I tried to make videos and there's like crickets in the background. It was driving me absolutely crazy. And then the crickets, it seemed like I couldn't keep them alive and I have to keep running to the pet store to buy crickets. It was the crickets that did in my leopard geckos. And now I have crested geckos, which are pretty awesome. They actually eat like a powdered mix. You actually mix it with water and feed them. As a matter of fact, my crested geckos have been breeding pretty good. I have this really big enclosure that's like a bioactive enclosure. And the last time I looked in there, I have 3 little baby crested geckos. So I have 5 crested geckos, which is pretty awesome. I have pinstripes, and I have a pinstripe female and a super Dalmatian male. It looks like I'm getting some pinstripe Dalmatian offspring. It's like a pinstripe with the spots on it, which is pretty cool. What's the most interesting new morph? Good question. I kind of like the LC Black Magic. It's actually, I think it's over in Europe only. I don't think they have them over the United States. But if you look at the Super LC Black Magic, it is one of the darkest snakes. It's a really super dark gene, which is pretty interesting. Let's see. I want to try targeted mutation via CRISPR and just bypass the whole breeding. Yeah, wouldn't that be awesome? You just use CRISPR, give your snake a shot, and turn your bamboo into a spider. That would be pretty scary. Yeah, gene editing with a shot. Let's see. I've been working on convolutional neural network for identifying Ball Python genes. Interesting. I'm from India. Wow, India. What time is it in India? That's way over there. I'm a big fan of you. I want a pied ball python. Can you provide it? So, yeah. So I actually don't ship to India. I don't even know if they have ball pythons in India. It'd be kind of interesting to see what the market is over there. I do have a pied. One of my hatchlings is a pied, doing pretty good. Ate a few meals. I'm not sure if I'm going to hold on to that one or not. It's It's like about 50% white on that pine. If it's a female, I might hold it. If it's a male, I'll definitely sell it. It's a pretty awesome snake. Let's see. The respiratory stuff is nasty. A lot of people aren't testing their snakes. Yes. Let's see. One of my ball pythons has recently been showing signs of corkscrewing wobble, but isn't spider or champagne. Never did this the last couple of days. Yeah, so there is a disease that's really contagious that can cause them to corkscrew and wobble and then die, and it's super contagious. I think it's called IBD. I don't know much about it. I have seen some other genes randomly kind of corkscrew and wobble a little bit. Sometimes you just don't notice it, and then you get them in certain situations, and then you'll actually notice it. So I actually had, I can't even remember what it was now. I think it was a lesser pied that had a little bit of like a wobble to it. There's certain genes that you mix them together and they're kind of susceptible to a wobble. Sometimes you mix spot nose with certain genes. Sometimes they can develop a wobble with spot nose and spot nose combinations. And sometimes I've actually heard, like with spiders, sometimes the spider will be completely fine as a hatchling, and as it ages and matures, sometimes they can develop a worse wobble as they age. So there's that too. So sometimes you can, sometimes it can just be random, where it gets worse with certain genes. So it may not be a disease at all. What gene? Rock Lesnar? Oh yeah. Let's see. Do I sell ball pythons? Yes, I sell ball pythons. I actually have a I sell them over on Morphmarket. Underneath every one of my videos, there's actually a link to my Morphmarket store. I sell about 100 hatchlings a year, so usually post them about 10 at a time. So I don't get too many over there. I think I have about a dozen listed over there so far right now. Morphmarket doesn't deliver in India. So if you're looking for someone who ships to India, you might contact one of the bigger breeders, like maybe BHB Reptiles from Brian Barchek over at BHB Reptiles. He might ship to India. You can look at Nerd, New England Reptile Distributors. They might deliver over there. There's a couple other bigger ones. There's a couple that I'm thinking of. Boy, I remember someone who shipped worldwide. I can't remember who it was. I can't remember the name. But what you can actually do is look over on Morphmarket and then just contact some of the bigger sellers. You can actually look at, like, a lot of times you can go to the sellers. As a matter of fact, you can actually look at the kind of the map view of all the sellers over on Morphmarket, and it'll actually list the bigger sellers in a certain color. And then you look for people that have, like, you know, hundreds of snakes for sale. And then you ask those guys, a lot of those big guys will actually ship all around the world. But I would say it's probably pretty expensive to ship over to India. Probably, I would say $600 at least, 600 US dollars to ship to India at least, I would say. All right, do Super Mojaves and Mystic Potions really have a purple tint and look purple in person? Yes. So some of them do and some of them don't. So not Super Mojaves though. The Super Mojave is a blue-eyed leucistic with kind of a gray head. But the Mystic Potions can be purple. Mystic Potions and Purple Passions. Will you ever do Venomous? Nope, I'll never do Venomous. unless I can, I don't know, probably not. I don't think I'll ever do venomous. Probably not. Can you say the combination for pumpkin pie? Yeah, so pumpkin pie, I believe, is the yellow belly pied. Yeah, when you add yellow belly to pied, it turns it to kind of like a pumpkin orange color. That's why they call it the pumpkin pie. Will you ever work with, say, pits or boom slang? Nope. No venomous. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Some genes are unlikely to be distinguishable. Yeah. How long can you keep a ball python in a 14-quart tub? Good question. So pretty much I like to keep ball pythons like when I move them from one tub to the next size up. What I'm actually looking for is when the ball python coils up around the hot spot on the back of the tub. I'm looking for space, a little bit of space on either side of the ball python, so the ball python coiled up in the back isn't touching both sides of the tub. If it's actually coiled up and touching both sides, then it needs to be moved up to the next size tub. You definitely want them comfortable coiled up around over the hot spot. So it really depends on the size of the enclosure too. If you have more of a square enclosure, I think it'd be a little bit more forgiving than kind of a longer one. There'll be an app for identifying genes in a few years. That would be awesome. It'd be really awesome if you could just take a shed, like put it in some kind of a like a home kind of a kit, and have it, automatically, versus sending it off to a lab and then having it shipped back. It'd be awesome if you can actually do like instant gene identification based on a shed, which I think would be pretty cool. Let's see. Billy Boy, my mom thinks I'm joking that we're watching you live. Can you tell Michelle hi? Hi, Michelle. Yes, I am live. We've been going for 2 hours, 41 minutes, 38 seconds, 68 people on the live, 106 thumbs ups. Wow. 0 thumbs down. Hey, I'll take that. Nice. Not many videos with 0 thumbs down. All right, so I think we're going to go for another 18 minutes. We'll call it 3 hours. 3 hour live. It is 11:35. We'll go to like almost midnight here. Bobby's doing pretty good, getting a little bit squirrely. She is older, doesn't really get YouTube. Yeah, so YouTube, you can go live like we are. As a matter of fact, you can actually I've actually seen people use StreamYard where multiple people can all jump in, and you'll have like, 8 or 9 or 10 people all talking at the same time. It gets a little crazy with a bunch of people. I just do straight through my phone, straight to YouTube, so nobody can really jump in with me here. And I have so many questions. It's like, so I never run out of questions. Matter of fact, I think I skipped like maybe 150 questions tonight because I had so many. It used to be like, I catch up with all the questions, and then I'd be like, all right, now what are we going to do? Because I answered all the questions. But it's nice to have more people and more questions coming in, because you pretty much never run out of things to talk about. Let's see. Can you get a really light super banana clown that stays light, or are the pictures I'm seeing edits that make the snake whiter? Good question. Yeah, so the super banana is pretty light. I don't know how much the super banana really changes as it ages and matures. So it's kind of interesting. This year I produced a female banana. So here in about 2 or 3 years, I'll actually get to breed that back to my other male banana and make the super banana for the first time. So it'd be pretty interesting to see some super bananas, how they really age and mature as I produce them. All right, let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah. I was telling you the morphs I have and wanted to share them. Okay, cool. Is Ball Python breeding all you do for a living? Only asking because I'm thinking of doing it full time. So yeah, so I do work from home. I quit my day job. I think it's been about a year and a half already since I quit my day job. So I do a whole variety of stuff to make income. So kind of the trick to being self-employed is having multiple income streams. So I can actually list some of the things. I'd say pretty much my number one money maker, I'd say is probably either YouTube. I'd say YouTube, the money I make on YouTube is pretty much the bread and butter as far as most of the money. Number two, I'd say close second is probably making money from the ball python breeding, selling the hatchlings. Really depends on the year. Last year, I only had about 50 hatchlings, so it was kind of a tough year. This year, I had like 100 hatchlings, so that's pretty good. I also sell fertile duck eggs and chicken eggs as hatching eggs over on eBay, so that's pretty good money. I sell dubia roaches, which seems like they've been doing pretty good. So there's a lot of things you can actually do to make money. So I'm always thinking of different ways. As a matter of fact, I just started my motorcycle YouTube channel, which just recently got monetized. So I'm making money off of 2 YouTube channels, which is pretty cool. And from what I'm seeing, it seems like the motorcycle channels do a lot better than the snake channels. So I'm thinking eventually, like in the next year or two, my motorcycle channel might even be doing better than my snake channel. And I mean, you know, on YouTube, the income's pretty much unlimited. So you get to the higher levels, and some people are making like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And then you can pretty much do whatever you want. You know, you can breed snakes or not breed snakes or travel the world, or it's just kind of crazy once you get to the higher levels on YouTube. So that's kind of my goal, is to get a lot of videos on YouTube to where you're making that regular income pretty much the rest of your life from your YouTube videos. And you don't have to constantly keep working like breeding ball pythons. You know, if you're not breeding, you're not making money, versus on YouTube, if you stop making videos, you still make money. So it's a little more long-term doing the YouTube, or more regular passive income. She's dying right now. Sure, yeah, it's pretty funny. All right, let's see. What schedule process would you use when pairing 1 male to 4 females? Good question. So what I do is I take the male, I put it with the female for 3 days, and then after 3 days, I'll move the male to another female for 3 days. And then that's a total of 6 days, and then I'll give them a break. Usually what I'll do is I'll go through, clean all the tubs, and then I'll feed all the males and females. And then usually after feeding, I'll give them usually 4 days off at least. If you pair them up too soon after feeding, you have a risk of regurgitation. So, and then after like 4 or 5 days off, then you want to move them to the next female for 3 days, and then the next female for 3 days, and then go through the feeding and the break again. And that's pretty much 1 full cycle for your males. And that's pretty much what I do as far as the maximum number of females that I'll put to a male. And that's my schedule. So that takes what? That takes, well, 3 days of snake. That's, so that's 12 days of pairing, and then like another like 8 days of rest, 8 or 9 or 10. So that's like 22 days, like a 22, 23 day cycle. as far as what I go through breeding pretty much all my snakes. I pretty much put it in a spreadsheet, and then it's the one male breeding the 4 females that kind of slows everything down and puts it like on a 23-day schedule from beginning to end. And then I'll just keep cycling the male through the females for like 5 months usually. So I'll have like 5 or 6 pairings usually through the whole breeding season. And then I'll just separate everyone and then just wait for the eggs. And when I get eggs, I get eggs and hope for the best. Let's see. So how many times do you pair in a season? Yeah, usually at least 5 times, I'd say. Any tips for my YouTube? Yeah, so living light reptiles. So I would say usually, well, when I started YouTube, I didn't really know what I was doing. I would say there's different ways you can do YouTube. It really depends on what you want to do. Reptile channel, I'd say, is a little bit more difficult than some of the other channels that are just more naturally easier to grow and make money at. Like one of the reasons I started my motorcycle channel, because it grows faster than my reptile channel. If you're doing reptiles and you know 100% sure, all right, I want to do just reptiles. I actually decided early on I was just going to stick with ball pythons only and not go to a lot of the other reptiles. But a lot of people that grow a lot faster, what they'll do is they'll do they'll do like care sheet videos, like care videos, how to care for a crested gecko, how to care for a leopard gecko, and they'll go through all the different reptiles. And those channels grow really super fast compared to if you're doing all ball pythons, which is a little bit more challenging. If you're doing all ball pythons and you're like, all right, I'm just going to stick with ball pythons and do a channel about ball pythons, what I would actually do is go to some of the ball python channels, sort by the most popular videos, and kind of use those ideas as far as making some videos. Like, for example, I actually looked at all the different channels for ball pythons, and there was, it seemed like the #1 video for a lot of them was your first ball python, or the ball python care sheet. Seemed like those do really well and they grow really fast compared to all the other videos. Or another one is how big do ball pythons get? That one is, it seems like just certain titles in a certain topic do really well and grow a lot faster as far as making videos. But you pretty much get to the point where kind of like I am already. So I have like 1,200 videos and I've done everybody's video. I copied everybody's best topic, and then I came up with every single topic that I can think of and made videos. And it's kind of a struggle now after so many videos to come up with a new video idea that I haven't done before that's interesting that people would actually want to watch. So the more videos you do, I'd say the harder it gets, because you already did a lot of those videos. You have to come up with new stuff. Or I've actually seen some people, they don't really care about growth. They just want to build a community, and they'll just do live stream with multiple people. You can actually do it that way. Some people just do videos on YouTube to help sell their hatchlings. They're not worried about growing their YouTube channel really big. So it really depends what you want to do. Some people just want to do like a family channel and just do random stuff, and they don't care about the growth on YouTube. So it depends what you want to do on YouTube. Let's see, are Mojave mochas very white? Good question. I am not sure on a Mojave mocha. I know the Mojave is one of the ones that sometimes it's really bright white. If you mix the Mojave with like a lesser or a bamboo, you'll get a really white snake. But if you take Mojave and you mix it with like Phantom, And sometimes you get the purplest, like the purple passions or the mystic potions with the mystic and the Mojave. So it really depends on the genes in the blue eyed leucistic. I'm not 100% sure how mocha would go with Mojave. You can actually look it up on Morphmarket and look at the mocha Mojaves. I'm thinking they are really white. Maybe a little bit of pattern showing through from that combination, but I think they're pretty white. Let's see. Billy Boy, I've had an 05 CBR 600 RR. Wow. So yeah, so that's a pretty awesome motorcycle. The RRs, that's the sport bike that are really way leaned over. They kind of hurt my hand driving the double R's. Super fast, super fun, 600. Yeah, I'm going to pull the motor and put it in a 71 124 Fiat. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I got a chance to ride some double R's. I think it was 600 double R's on my motorcycle channel this year. Pretty crazy. It was a BMW. Let's see. Ben going to an expo for the first time. Nice. Are females or males the better investment? Same visual, same gene. Good question. So keep in mind, if you're buying your very first ball pythons, that one male can breed multiple females. I've actually seen people breed like a dozen females with one male. So when I first started, I was getting like one male and one female, and then I get another male and another female. And then I realized I really don't need all these males. You need more females. As a matter of fact, I'm getting to a point now where I have so many females, I don't have enough males to service all my females. And I'm kind of, I was even struggling this year trying to figure out my breeding because I have all these extra females and not enough males to go around. So you definitely need both males and females. Keep in mind the females, if you're buying them as hatchlings, I would say usually your females increase in value more over time as they age and mature. So you have that too, I'd say in most cases. So your females, if they get to be breeding age, they're really in high demand because everybody wants to buy ready to breed females so they can produce offspring the first year. But yeah, you need males and females. So I wouldn't buy as many males, but yeah, so they're both good investments, I'd say. All right, 2 hours, 56 minutes, 43 seconds. Almost at 3 hours, 60 people on still. 113 thumbs up, no thumbs down. All right. Let's see, and we're coming up to the end of our questions. Wow. Let's see. I don't think India allows exotic pet license. Bureaucracy is messed up totally. So dream on about ball pythons. So I was actually interested in, I was kind of looking at moving to Costa Rica, which is kind of interesting. If you look at the laws about ball pythons in Costa Rica, it says you can have a ball python, but it takes years, over a year of paperwork in order to get a ball python in Costa Rica, which is unbelievable. And they said nobody has ball pythons in Costa Rica just because of the kind of the logistics as far as getting one. So all right, thanks. Going to do more research on other channels. So when I actually started out my YouTube channel, I'd actually subscribed to every single snake channel. As a matter of fact, I'm subscribed to over 700 channels, which is kind of cool. So I have my whole list of subscriptions over on the left side when I go to YouTube. And kind of the cool thing is every time someone goes live, the live always comes up to the top of my subscription list. So you can see out of those 700 channels who frequently goes live, which is kind of interesting. And you can get a lot of ideas from a lot of that too. So I'd say if you're looking for ideas for like a ball python YouTube channel, you can look at other people's channels. You can go over to Morphmarket kind of look at what people are posting as far as all the genes over there. You can kind of do videos on the, some of the genes or the combinations. You can go over to I think it's called kingsnake.com, which would be a good place for some content. They actually post not only ball pythons, but they have like venomous snakes and a lot of equipment, stuff like that. Maybe you can get some video ideas from some of that. You can go to, I think it's Ball Python Net or BP Nets. It's a reptile forum that has a lot of people asking questions about a whole bunch of different things about ball pythons and other reptiles. You can get a lot of ideas over there as far as some content for your YouTube channel. I used to kind of go back and forth between all those different places. Sometimes I'd pull them all up and I'd look at all the different sites, and I'd look over on Morphmarket and I couldn't find anything. So I go to the forums, couldn't find anything. I go to YouTube and I just go back and forth between all the, sometimes you can go over to Facebook and see what people are doing or asking over there. Sometimes you can get video ideas as far as stuff you can pull off of over there too. All right, I like your what are these morphs videos, very informative, help with the visuals. So I actually did a lot of morph videos because I didn't know anything about morphs and I had so many questions, and there was really no YouTube videos showing the different genes and how they interact with all the other genes. And that's kind of why I kind of came up with the whole idea of doing all the morph videos and all the combinations. I think I pretty much covered everything. I don't really do any morph videos anymore. As a matter of fact, when I was doing those morph videos, a lot of people would get upset because I was doing videos using other people's snakes. It's like there's really no other way to do it other than to go to Morphmarket and use other people's pictures of the stuff that they produced, and a lot of people wouldn't do it because they're like, I want to do it, but I don't want to use other people's copyrighted pictures to actually make a video. So there's this dilemma of, actually using stuff over on Morphmarket because people's pictures are potentially copyrighted, but the only way you can really do it and explain it to the whole world to figure out the genes is to actually go over there and use their pictures. So I felt like I was kind of like almost crossing the line as far as the copyright doing a lot of those videos, but it was the only way to really inform everybody about all the genes and the combinations. As a matter of fact, I had one guy found out that I was using his pictures on my videos, and he wrote me an email and he said, don't use my pictures in any of your videos. I actually had to go through all my videos and cut out all the little clips that I used from his website, from all of his snakes. It was a nightmare going through all my videos, cutting them out. So yeah, it was a challenge, I would say, but I learned a lot, that's for sure. And a lot of people learn a lot about those videos. Give Bobby a pat for me. Yeah, Bobby, wake up. Oh, we're past the 3 hours. Yeah, here's Bobby waking up from his nap. Doing good. All right, let's see. I have an order for 10 animal plastics. I've been waiting forever. Should I cancel that and go with ARS? As far as I know, ARS may be backed up just as far as everyone else. I think Freedom Breeder, ARS, and everyone's really backed up on these orders, like months and months out. So, as a matter of fact, I need some snake bedding, and it's like we're like months out to get my snake bedding. Do you have any tips on how to get a young ball python to eat frozen thawed? Yeah, so I actually go through all my hatchlings. I offer frozen thawed first, even if they just hatch. As a matter of fact, even this year I've been going through, as soon as they hatch from the egg, the first thing I'll offer is frozen thawed. And believe it or not, I've actually had some take frozen thawed first before a live mouse hopper, which is pretty amazing. So I'll go through, offer everyone a frozen thawed first, and then I'll go back and do the live mouse hoppers. Some of them take like 5 or 6 or 7 live mouse hoppers before I get them transitioned over. I would always go in, offer the frozen thawed first. If they don't take it, I would mark the tub and then go back and throw on a live mouse hopper. And just keep working every week, just offering the frozen thawed first. That's the way I do it. We produced Mocha Mojave this year, and they're awesome slight yellow line down the back. Interesting. Nice. So that's kind of a similar appearance to the Bamboo Lesser. Kind of has it's all white with the slightly yellow line right down the back. Yeah, you would think people would like the publicity on what they're selling. That's what I thought. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I was doing the morph reviews, and kind of the interesting thing, I was getting a lot of feedback as far as a lot of people say, "Hey, I can't believe you actually showed the picture of the snake because I bought that snake and that's my snake." And people are so excited that their snake actually made the video. So I had a lot of good compliments. I had some bad ones. I'd say most people liked it. There's some people that did not like my morph videos when I was making them, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, it was interesting. I was doing morph videos like every single day for almost, I think, a year and a half. It was crazy. You're awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. Yep, I'm going to do it. Yeah, always looking for new video ideas, trying to come up with something. Kind of slowed down a little bit. It's hard to find good ideas. Doing more lives, I guess. Kind of took a break this summer. I was doing a lot of motorcycle videos. I think I have 74 motorcycle videos on that channel already, which is kind of crazy. I have a question about the substrate. One YouTube channel recommends aspen. I actually started with aspen. The only reason I don't like it seemed like when I was feeding my snakes, a lot of my snakes would actually get a little bit of aspen kind of hanging out of their mouth, like stuck in their mouth. So that's the reason that I went away from aspen. It seems like it molds a lot easier than the coconut husk. Doesn't really hold the humidity that the coconut husk really offers. But I've seen some people do aspen. Aspen's pretty cheap. I'd say it's one of the cheaper ones. If you can find a cheap aspen, you can buy it in the big compressed blocks. Let's see, I have a ball python that I've had for about a year and a half. Always have heard that humidity needs to be around 70, 80, but my guy, Mr. Mello, has always had a humidity around 15 to 35. Wow. So yeah, 15 to 35, usually I would say you could run into a lot of stuck sheds at that low of a humidity. So yeah, I always found that, as a matter of fact, here in Colorado, the ambient humidity is less than 15%. So it seems like if I just don't use any humidity at all, which I've tried a little bit, it seems like a lot of my snakes will actually go off of food from the low humidity. So, but I do think 70, 80 is a little too high. I would probably go for a lower humidity, probably like around 50%. It's probably the ideal where you kind of avoid the respiratory infections. And then when they start going into a shed, I would probably bump it up to about 70 or 80 just for the shed. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people that they prefer low humidity pretty much all the time until they go into a shed and then they bump it up. All right, thanks for answering my question. Your content's fantastic. Thank you for everything. Do you have a Facebook page? I actually tried Facebook. I signed up for Facebook. Within 2 weeks, I maxed out at 5,000 followers. It was unbelievable. I had so many people that joined my Facebook. As a matter of fact, I have like 700 people, over 700 on Instagram. I've never posted anything on Instagram, and I have so much. I have so much going on. I just don't have time for Facebook. People have asked me so many questions. I just finally deleted my Facebook. I just could not keep up with it. Manuel, hey, what's up? I am ready to end this thing. We've been going for 3 hours and 9 minutes. 67 people still on the live stream. 117 thumbs up. Wow, that's pretty cool. 0 thumbs down still. Have you tried a live with a fellow breeder? Yeah, I've actually seen people. I've seen some disasters going. People going live with multiple people, and everyone kind of like gangs up and just bashes the guy, or you actually go live with someone and they start swearing or whatever, or you don't agree on something and you get in this big internal conflict. So there's just a handful of people, I think, that I know really well that we wouldn't beat each other up in the live stream that I'd probably go live with, but just to open it up to everybody, that's kind of risky as far as having just your live stream just kind of explode and crash on you. It can kind of crash and burn. So Derek's Reptiles do an interview with me. You're probably one of the one. I think you're the pinky on the handful that I probably do a live with. Derek Reptiles, yes. Yeah, you interviewed Brian Barczyk. I'd probably do a live stream with Brian Barczyk, maybe. He's like the second finger that I might do a live stream with. I think we could get along without beating each other up. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to end it here, 3 hours and 10 minutes. So I don't know what I'm going to be on next. As a matter of fact, I'm working on a chicken video. I've been working on it for 4 months. That might be my next video. And so I actually hatched some eggs, some chicken eggs, and I went from hatching the egg all the way to where the rooster crows. It's been 4.5 months taking a video every single day. It's going to be a 2-hour-long video, which is pretty interesting because you get to spend the whole summer with me just a little bit every single day as I go out and work with my chickens and my ducks. So that should come up here probably in the next few days. I'm thinking it's almost completely done, so that'll be the next one. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it for Sunday night. It is past midnight here in Colorado, United States of America. All right, guys, thanks for all the super chats. Thanks for all the questions, and I will see you in the next video.